across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
So before we start, I want to say that Asher Gould is away, and what a terribly, terribly sad day for this country that Ann Widdecombe has died. We assume that she's been murdered, given there's a murder investigation. I suppose there is still a small possibility that she fell and hit her head or whatever. Certainly that's what we're all hoping for. Admittedly, now it's pretty unlikely. And obviously the Devon and Cornwall police have arrested somebody. They sound pretty confident, reading between the lines, that they've got the right suspect. We can't really debate whether this is a political thing, whether politicians need more security, whether there's an issue of hatred in politics, whether there's an issue of terrorism. I mean, I know that they've ruled out terrorism, but you know what they do. They say it's a mental health breakdown whenever there's a terror attack in order to keep the numbers down. But we can't really debate any of that. But I'm with George Gilbert, who was on Big Brother, who's somebody who's incredibly forthright. And I want to ask a very simple question just at the start of this show. So, Peter Tatchell went on Twitter and said, Ann Widdecombe is dead, exclamation mark, which is a bit... But he said, for 40 years, she opposed every single piece of gay rights legislation that went through. She remained opposed to gay rights her entire life. Bigot. Now, I personally think, and I didn't know Ann Widdecombe, although I met her once or twice, I personally think that when people are saying, oh my God, you can't say this, this is terrible, how dare you, I don't think she would have particularly cared about the fact that somebody was going to criticise her for her views. Now, the reason I say that is because it's not like you were saying, I thought she was tall, short, fat, thin, ugly, attractive, you know, whatever. You're saying, in her views, I believed her to be bigoted. Now, I think it's OK to say that. Now, Peter Tatchell has later apologised. He said, I want to apologise for my insensitive comments about Ann Widdecombe. Nobody deserves to die, whatever they believe in. My sincere condolences to Ann and her family, and I support the police investigation. Just to be clear, on some other things that went on, Ian Dale said, I will curb my language, but that tweet is disgusting, talking about the original Peter Tatchell tweet. You profess to be an advocate for human rights, and the right to be treated with dignity after death is a basic human right that everyone should have, yet you rejoice in her death. Yes, her religion guided her views on sexuality issues, and I had many disagreements with her on that, but she had a great many gay friends, blah-de-blah-de-blah-de-blah. Now, I tweeted, let's be honest, she would not have cared. Now, George, look, first of all, we're not going to be disrespectful to somebody who was a great of British politics, but I don't know, it feels a bit snowflakey to me. If you thought Ann Widdecombe's views were terrible, if you hated her and you thought she was a bigot, is she really looking down from heaven, giving a toss? Or is she just saying, in life, I excited debate, in death I've excited debate, and I was never particularly bothered when somebody told me I was wrong?
I think these people are absolute monsters for jumping on this bandwagon, trying to throw punches at this woman who's just suffered a tragedy like being murdered. OK. It's absolutely... They are the most intolerant people you could ever think of. They call us intolerant. Well, actually, if you can't have the respect and decency, the general decorum, where did that ever go to in our society? If they can't have the decency to just wish her... May she rest in peace, a simple message like that. But no, it has to be about her politics from 20, 30 years ago.
I mean, I remember
I think she's a great woman. She was the most principled politician upon reading her record. And she was one of only a handful of MPs to vote against the Equality Act and the Climate Change Act back in the day. For those reasons, she swims against the tide and stands up for what she believes in. And we've got a shortage of people like that. So these people... They don't understand her, so they stand under her. Ann Widdecombe, rest in peace.
Yeah, and I have to say, I remember there was an RMT boss. What was his name? I forget now. But when he died, it was amazing. People were going, "Oh, now he's died. It's amazing how his political opponents were so nice about him," as if they secretly agreed with his views, right? And they secretly thought. And I remember writing an article a few weeks later, and it was a few weeks later, saying, "Look, what you have to understand is." We have a general sympathy for him and his family, obviously particularly for his family because his family are left without a father and a husband and whatever. But the reality is we thought that his contribution to politics was negative. We didn't agree with him, we didn't like him, we didn't think he was a fantastic bloke. But obviously there is a general human general human empathy that ought to exist. So you thought Thatcher was wrong?
Yeah, well...
No, not so much you thought Thatcher was wrong, you thought he shouldn't have said it, because there is part of me, when you're talking about somebody so robust as Widdecombe, to think, bring it on. I mean, I remember Margaret Thatcher saying to somebody once, she said, "You mean the left are offended just because I'm alive?" Yes. Like, and she found it quite funny that 20 years after she left office, people were still furious.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. These people, they don't make them like Ann Widdecombe or Margaret Thatcher anymore. Because the moment they feel that if they vote a certain way or if they endorse Andy Burnham in today's climate, then unless they do that, they will miss out on a job in the cabinet. Then they're going to change their morals and bend their principles in order to get ahead personally or in their career. They don't care about their constituency or even their party, only themselves. And that's the problem with current politicians today. That's what we need to stamp out. And someone like Ann Widdecombe was the flag bearer of that kind of thing. No politicians are willing to do that these days.
I saw Anthony Sheldon on the TV today, and what he was saying was that she had a phenomenal self-belief, and that self-belief was not necessarily an arrogance. This is not what he said, but it's not necessarily an arrogance, but it was just this belief that, you know what, I want to be heard, I'm going to throw my views out there, screw it, I don't care. And now, look, let's just be clear. That is something that you're similar with. Now, OK, you have said things in your life that are deemed unacceptable.
Yeah, by some, not by everyone.
She was perhaps a little more tactful, if we're being totally honest. But I do think...
not really with regards to LGBTQ and all that. For instance, she's a very devout Roman Catholic. She converted after being a Protestant because she felt they were going a bit too liberal.
No, it's because of women priests.
Oh yeah, well yeah, too liberal because in her eyes. So yeah, she died a Roman Catholic. But not many people would even change because I think one of her quotes was, "I didn't leave the Conservative Party left me."
Yes,
it's so true. Everything's gone so left wing, but only a few are willing to dig their heels in and remain as they are and stand up for what they believe in. And if that means ditching your party or even your religion, in her case, she was willing to do that. For that, I take my hat off.
It struck me, something else about her that really struck me. Yeah. If she was a lefty, she'd have been a dame, she'd have been in the House of Lords.
Baroness.
She'd have been, absolutely. And you think to yourself, now, in fairness, Nigel Farage was clearly going to stick her in the House of Lords, so she was only a couple of years away from that. Whether he wins the election or not, he will be given a House of Lords delegation at some point, and she was going to be fairly high on that list. How do you know? Because one would assume that if you were picking your first few members of the House of Lords, you would pick the people that you had as Brexit Party MEPs, which were the people that you wanted all your career. The David Bulls, the Ann Widdecombes, the Michael Heavers, the Gawain Towlers of this world.
Rupert Lowe's.
The Rupert Lowe's.
I doubt he would have got one. You never know. You never know.
Rupert or Roop? No,
he's recently done a big podcast on Joe Rogan, hasn't he? But there was a controversy over that. He said there was one murder in the Dunblane shootings. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, well, I was slightly bemused by that because apparently he did like a 2-hour interview.
Yeah, he slipped up once. Give him a break.
But I see, once again, I think that's deliberately trying to jump on people. What he was saying that we had gone completely mad in our gun laws. Yeah. Now, I am not a gun owner, right? And I've got no particular interest in it. But
are you anti-gun?
I'm not anti-gun. I've always had air pistols, just a bit of fun, you know, in the back garden with a target. I wouldn't go to all the hassle of, you know, getting a licence for a shotgun and doing all this sort of thing, and 1,500 quid for the gun and all this sort of stuff.
If Ann Widdecombe had one, she would still be with us today. So there's a good argument.
You don't.
She's a vulnerable old elderly woman.
So you would support literally gun ownership?
Well, it's funny because back in the day I was always very anti-gun, because at the end of the day they kill people, and if we didn't have them, then there's going to be... We've got less gun murders per capita than the US.
Yeah.
Why? Because they've got guns, we don't. Fairly straightforward. But having said that, I realise why it is a Second Amendment in the US Constitution now, and that's because when the state will ultimately get corrupted, because it's probably inevitable at some point over the 1,000-year empire they hope for, at some point the state will corrupt the liberties of the people. So how can the people fight back against the state? Well, the gun is the best way to do it. So I've moved slightly more pro-gun, but still they do kill more people
It's
than
amazing.
if we didn't have them. So I'm still
that,
anti-gun, but I'm more torn.
It's amazing that you make that point, because in reality, it is not a right to bear arms, it's a duty to bear arms. The Second Amendment, it says something like, in a well-ordered and safe society, you need a militia. Therefore, people should keep guns at home. By the way, that amendment did exist before the Americans were planning to have an army. They wanted to call up the ordinary men. But
all right, I didn't know that.
But it's interesting. The one thing that does go in your favour, and it's a great argument for you if you're in favour of gun ownership, actually, the country that has the most guns per capita is Switzerland, and its gun deaths are incredibly low. Also, most Israelis have guns as well.
OK.
Or they did. I think they might have got rid of it recently, just before the attack.
How can you get rid of them? How is that possible?
Well, they removed legally held guns from people.
Oh, right, so you allowed them in your private residence, but not...
No, I don't know the exact rules on Israel, but I think because of the way the country was set up quite recently in 1947, I think anyone who ever bought a gun had a gun licence, so they were able to track where the guns were. In a way, in the United States of America, there are just that many guns everywhere. They're so ubiquitous, they'd be pretty hard. But look, I mean, once again, if you're going to go against the grain of political correctness, what Rupert Lowe said was, essentially, he said it was ludicrous to punish millions of people who were interested in the sport of gun ownership because Thomas Hamilton had murdered children in Dunblane. Now, if you go, oh my God, you're supporting the killing in Dunblane, no, you're not.
Exactly,
no, you're absolutely not doing that. What you're saying is, you're saying there needs to be a balance, and I think sometimes we have a problem in our society where the knee-jerk reaction. Do you remember the Dangerous Dogs Act, where they just made certain dogs illegal?
The XL bully dog got
it's just ridiculous.
Same as social media. Of course, it's the yin-yang. There's going to be some negativity when you allow certain things, and there'll be some good things when you allow bad things. But at the end of the day, it should be up to us to make the decision if we want something like guns, like social media, like XL bully dogs, I believe. It just so happens that a lot of bad dog owners like an XL bully dog. Doesn't mean that pit bulls are all bad, though.
Yeah, I mean...
If I rose a pit bull or an XL bully dog, I bet you a tenner right here, right now, I could raise it as a good little boy. So it's down to the owner.
But most people... I mean, I remember watching a really responsible dog owner saying, look, a dog is an apex predator, right? It's a killer. Right, I mean, any dog that goes for you can go for you with some ferocity. Yeah. Even a little blooming, even one of those overgrown rat ones. But people don't act like that. People don't recognise that this is, a domesticated wolf.
Yeah, but then what, are we domesticated gorillas? So what, we should kill all humans?
No, I'm saying...
Where are we going with it? Where'd you draw the line?
I'm saying that, I consider dog ownership to be similar to car ownership. Yeah. When I see most people driving, they are terrible at driving. Yeah. They've got no idea how to do it. And what amazes me, and one of my favourite things, is you drive round and the people who are the worst drivers are the ones that are sticking their fingers up and shouting at everyone and whatever. And you think, the reason why you drive the streets every day and you see such bad driving is because it's you. Yeah. Right? But people don't seem to realise. Do you know, they've done a study that the traffic jam on the M25 every day is caused by the same 50 people who just ride their brakes all the way around.
Surely they'd get points and have their licence revoked.
There's no room. I said, well, look, just nick them and take the licence off them. But apparently there's between 30 and 50 people who every day at about 4 o'clock are on the M25 and they cause the traffic jam.
Oh, it doesn't surprise me because it's every bloody day, isn't it?
Because what they do is they do something called brake riding, which is they constantly feather the brakes, which means the brake lights keep coming on, so everyone overcompensates behind them, and that causes...
How do you feel about retesting drivers who are past the age of, what, 75? There was talk of that, wasn't there?
I'm a big fan of police being... I'm not a big fan of police, I think they're evil, but I'm a big fan of police having the ability to just stop drivers and say, I'm sorry, I just dispute your competence as a driver. You know, like my mum had a friend called Maureen, and they always used to go, Maureen's a very safe driver. She wasn't. She used to go everywhere at 15 miles an hour, right? It wasn't safe at all. It was madness, right? And she was on the motorway doing 20 once, right? And
that's dangerous.
Of course it's dangerous. Yeah. And Maureen thought of herself as a very safe driver, but she was a nightmare. Yeah, she was a nightmare. And actually, you know, the number of people, and I'm afraid the female of the species are guilty of this, where they are so risk averse and slow that it actually becomes dangerous in of itself.
I don't know.
Now what the blokes do, of course, just for the women watching, what the blokes do is massively overestimate their ability and end up in a field.
Do you know what I've noticed? Electric car drivers do my nutting. They are so slow. They never indicate, or they rarely indicate. They are the worst drivers. I don't know why it's electric car drivers. A part of me thinks, who's buying electric cars? A lot of them are liberals, because they're so eco-friendly. So liberals, they're not only making the world worse politically, but on the roads as well. Ban them. If you're going to ban anyone.
Yeah, I mean,
electric car drivers, I'm telling you.
Yeah, bad Liberal Democrats.
Yeah.
Just make it
all of them.
The Liberal Democrat brackets Abolition Act 2026. the left-wing activist brackets Abolition Act.
Oh, that would be handy banning them. But no, for instance, I got three points on my licence fairly recently. I've been a naughty boy, and that's because I was speeding. I'm not a bad driver. I'm an efficient driver. If it's 4:32 a.m. on the M25, which it was when I got my points, and I do, I think it was 62 on the motorway, where it's 70 mile per hour speed limit. But no, there's a variable camera, 50. So I was doing 12 over, straight 3 points. 62 on an empty motorway, 4:30 in the morning, absolutely ridiculous. So I got 3 points. Now I'm going to have to pay an arm and leg on my insurance, all for what? Because I'm an efficient driver, trying to get to my destination on time to make money for the economy and going to work.
My dad got clocked doing 128.
Legend.
He lost his licence for a significant amount of time.
Straight away?
Yeah, well...
or was he on, like, 9 points already?
I don't know how much trouble he got into, because what the police car said was, look, in truth, we couldn't have caught you at the speed you were doing.
That would be me one day, I think.
He had this car, and I think it was something like a Vauxhall Carlton 3 litre. Now, everyone remembers the Lotus Carlton 3 litre, but he had this thing was an absolute monster. Right, I don't know if you remember the car, but he had the Senator, which was the sports version, but then he had the Carlton, and he reckoned he was. I mean, I shouldn't say this publicly. He reckoned he did over 140 once in that car, and he said what was amazing was even the slightest gradient of a turn on the motorway was just a fight with the steering wheel.
Was shaking like an Alzheimer's patient.
He said it was. What?
No,
George.
Is it Parkinson's?
What are you
I'm getting the mix up.
No, don't worry about it. Alzheimer's patients don't shake. You can say that.
Yeah.
Right, George is a controversial man. Apologies if you have any
it's true. I'm not offending him, am I?
Age-related diseases that George is going to offend you on. Listen, we're talking about the death of Ann Widdecombe. I don't want to speculate on why she died. I know that sounds stupid, but it is still possible she had a fall. You know, she was found on the floor in a pool of blood. It is still possible she had a fall. Obviously, now somebody's been arrested for murder. It's looking increasingly unlikely.
It may not have been premeditated. It could have been a burglary gone wrong. Some people are saying. But,
yeah, it's also we have arrested a white man, aged 26, who was born, who was a British national, and you think now they know, don't they?
Yeah.
They know what...
Yeah, funny how they disclose the ethnicity this soon.
Yes.
When it's a white British man. But if maybe he's from Brighton, then the writer can score some points there.
If I'm being honest, if it was somebody who was a Muslim, a Pakistani Muslim or whatever, they'd have said it was a mental health incident by now. I'm just being deadly serious.
Yeah, I would assume so, but I don't know what the Ofcom rules are. You're probably not even allowed to say that these days.
No,
but no, yeah, it's such a shame that there is apparently on Blue Sky, the fake Twitter, where it's all the Liberals hang out online. They're all slagging her off, saying, "Oh yeah, well she did die, but it's a good thing really because she voted against gay rights." She may have done, she may not have done, but we don't all agree with each other on everything, on anything. Like, there's things I disagree with my best friends on, my parents on. Just because she voted once upon a time against something you believe in now that happens to be trendy now, doesn't mean it's a good thing this poor woman's died. It's disgraceful.
I mean, I think...
Gets on my nerves on.
I think the whole thing about gay rights is a bit silly, really, because, let's just be clear, it was the House of Parliament that took away your inalienable right to have consensual sex with an adult in the first place, and then they legalised homosexuality and people are supposed to thank them. No, it was a violation of your human rights to start with. She opposed gay marriage. Well, I oppose gay marriage, and I'll tell you the reason. Well, I oppose straight marriage as well. I believe that marriage should be in a church, or a synagogue, or a temple, or indeed a mosque. It should be a religious institution between a man and a woman. What we should then have for everybody else is civil partnerships, which is your thing in the state. I think the idea of getting married in a registry office is utterly ludicrous, and I think it just becomes easier when it's a complete, in all honesty, free-for-all. You decide what the relationship is with your partner. I think you should be allowed to go down to Tesco's and get, you know, when you get one of those will packs, you should be allowed to get a marriage pack where you and your partner can decide your own contract. I'll tell you the reason, because why should the state be the regulator of love? So I'm against, but also she opposed, I mean, I don't mean to be rude, she opposed the age of consent going down to 16. I saw those marches. There were no 16 and 17-year-olds on those marches. It's all 40-year-old dudes, right? Yeah.
Seedy old men.
No, but let's be honest, right? If you look now at the footage of the people campaigning for the age of consent to go from 18 to 16, there were no 16-year-olds there. There's no one going, hey, come on!
Well, you could say it'd be a bit embarrassing for a 16-year-old. Oh, come on, please make it legal for me to have sex.
Yeah, but they're
not going to go and march for that, are they?
It's even more embarrassing if you're 50.
Yeah, true.
Come on, Grandad, give it a break.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not joking. It's worse. I mean, can you imagine now? Imagine you passionately believed that the age of consent should be 14 in this country, right? Would you go on a march even if you passed? No! Right, you went...
But people say about 16-year-olds are kids legally, so why is 14 such a ludicrous thing to say?
Well,
not that I'm in favour of it. I think it should be 18 actually. I'm with Widdecombe.
But I'm just saying, if you were in favour, would you go on the march? I wouldn't.
I wouldn't.
Even if it was my #1 political issue, age 46, I would not go on a march saying the age of consent should be reduced.
Is it right in is it Yemen? It's 9 years old.
It is in a lot of Islamic countries.
Yeah, so
However,
age 14 seems conservative to them.
You have to be married to the person, and that's quite unusual. Mind you, there's an awful video online about an old man who marries a 9-year-old in Afghanistan, pays her dad $2,000.
Really?
Horrendous. And he has to drag her out of the house.
Yeah.
It's horrendous. Anyway, we do need to take a break now. We'll be back with George Gilbert. An array of different subjects. We've covered it all. And we've not even got started yet.
God knows what's coming up.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, it's the Late Show with Andre Walker. Asher Gould is away and George Gilbert is co-hosting tonight. OK, here we go. Right, OK, let's have a look at this. Some of the comments. Somebody said, Andre, I had a Vauxhall Carlton years ago. It was the most comfortable car I ever owned. Lovely to drive too. Alison says, now, Alison, I'm just going to say one thing. The message that you've sent to me, whilst heartfelt, is slightly strangely worded. Now, let's just hear exactly what Alison says. And it is a nice message, but she says, nobody should die from murder regardless of their political leanings. People should die with respect. Ann Widdecombe deserved a happy ending. It's slightly oddly
said,
worded.
Alison.
Slightly
Well
oddly
said.
worded, the happy ending.
Yeah, well, who wants to die getting whacked along the head?
Well, I mean, nobody, obviously.
In a pool of your own blood.
Also, somebody's pointed out that I stole Ricky Gervais's joke, which was the 16-year-olds on a march. Andre should... OK. Oh, apparently the sound is sounding a bit dodgy for where some people are. Apologies for that. OK. So I want to ask you about Big Brother and Ann Widdecombe going on it. So you've been a Big Brother contestant. Yes. Sore point for you slightly. But, you know, you are... Obviously, every Big Brother house has the political one, if you like. Yeah. You were the political one in that house that year.
For my sins.
Yeah. What do you think there is a benefit to Big Brother in political debates? I'm thinking particularly about those people who go into the Big Brother house and say, I'm not celebrity Big Brother's house, and say, I'm not doing it for the money. I'm doing it because I genuinely believe I can attract a different audience for my political views.
Well, I think anybody who's playing the political character on any show like Big Brother or any reality show, they need to be principled and they need to go on there and talk their truth. I hate that phrase, but talk their truth.
Well, if it's opinion, it is their truth, isn't
it? But it reminds me of Harry and Meghan, that. It's my truth. It's not the truth, though, so shut up.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. The problem is with your truth, it's a lie. Yeah. I mean, the worst thing she ever said was, what was it? He was... The son Archibald was Archie was able to take the title Dunfermline or something, Lord Dunfermline, and she said it's because it has dumb in the title. What? Like they deliberately given him that.
That is the truth.
yeah. The Earl of Dumbarton, that was it.
All right.
So I don't know if you know this. If your dad has more than one peerage, the eldest son can use the second one. The eldest son of the eldest son can use the third one. So. When Queen Elizabeth II was still alive, technically Archie Mountbatten Windsor's title was Earl Dumbarton.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
She said they've given him a title with dumb in it because obviously they're trying to insult him. Well, first of all, it's his dad's title, so she's the Countess of Dumbarton already. In fact, she probably would have known. I mean, you would know which peerages your husband had, wouldn't you?
Oh, you'd like to think so, but for a couple like that, would they? I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't put it past them if they didn't do their research. Yeah, he's in a bit of mud at the moment, isn't he? I heard that Invictus Games might not be continuing because they're struggling to get sponsorships. So he's in a bit of a rut, and then he's lost his court case against the Daily Mail the other day.
And he did lose it big time.
Yeah.
Which was he said that he'd been phone hacked by the Mail and the Mail on Sunday and was simply unable to bring any evidence whatsoever that was true. And he was thrown out on that basis.
Well, it's not like him to lie, is it?
I don't think he's lying, actually. I think he believes it to be true. I think it's easier to believe that companies were phone hacking you than it is to accept that some of your friends sell stories to the papers for 20 grand a pop.
Well, I suppose if that's his truth, then he's not lying after all.
Do you know what Prince William does? Prince William, when he makes a new friend, tells them a story about himself that only they've been told, and it's not true.
It's like a Colleen Rooney to the Rebecca Varney
like the Wagatha Christie.
Yeah.
So apparently, what he does is he asks this question, and he tells the story. It's not true, and then if he hears it back, he knows the person's a leak and never talks to them again. But the big problem is, would you be guilty of that? Because if I went for a pint with Prince William, and he told me an interesting story about his life, I would go home and go, you're not going to believe what Prince William told me. Right? It wouldn't be me being... I wouldn't go into the media.
Well, if you tell your wife or your sister, then fair enough, everyone would do that.
Yeah.
But if you sold it to the papers, that's crossing the different line, and that...
Well, totally.
That's breaching privacy. But no, that's a very wise thing to do. And I've always liked Prince William, but I do think the royals is a ticking time bomb before they fade into nothingness, because of the rate at which the demographics of this country are changing. A lot of people won't be interested in preserving British institutions like the royal family.
You know, so it's interesting.
They need to change something.
It's interesting you should say that. Asghar Majid, I've often talked about him on this show. I must get him on, actually. The first Muslim mayor of a royal borough, I suggested that he ran for the position, and I ran the campaign. Now, the campaign's slightly odd, because as a civic mayor rather than executive mayor, it was just the councillors
rings the bell and all that.
Yeah, it was just the councillors that elected him. So, but nonetheless, I did run the campaign.
Is he one of us? Is he a good guy?
He's a right-winger. But what he said was, growing up in Keighley, in quite a closed Muslim community, he said people didn't know who Prince Charles was. You know, they didn't know what the royal family did. They didn't fully understand any of it. And funny enough, I was watching the other day, and this is not intended to have a go at anyone, because I think, actually, you can exist in the same place and have parallel lives. You certainly can. I mean, I grew up, obviously, in quite a Catholic community in England, right? But all my mates were all Irish Catholics, right? So I think you can live a parallel life and without trying to be sectarian about it. And certainly we didn't intend to be, though maybe perhaps we were accidentally. But when you watch things like the Jubilee, you know, it's principally white people. Now, the reason I'm bothered about that is because we want the whole country to engage.
Yeah, it should unite us.
Yeah, you think to yourself, though, for a lot of people, this isn't their tradition. You know, if you've come from Afghanistan, you know, the history of the royal family is not of interest to you. I mean, less so if you come from the Commonwealth, because, I mean, and there's some Commonwealth countries that are much closer to the royal family than others. I mean, I'm thinking of those where they still have the monarchy, places like Canada, you know, Jamaica and places like that. Yeah. But I think a lot of people just don't understand.
Well, the scary thing is these people from countries such as Afghanistan, to name one as an example, they're not just not bothered about the monarchy, they're actually anti-monarchy because of what it represents. It represents imperialism, and when we raped, pillaged and looted their villages and towns and all of their natural
I mean, we've never looted
assets.
Afghanistan, have we?
We haven't, but
I mean, because there's
in
nothing
their mind,
to nick.
it's about British going over.
Let's just be clear. We've never looted Afghanistan because there's nothing to steal.
Well, you say that. The Chinese are stealing a lot of their lithium now, which is worth an arm and a leg. So, and that's because Joe Biden pulled out of Afghanistan like a rat down a drain pipe and gave it to him on a plate.
It's amazing, actually. The United States of America probably, up until fairly recently, had only scored one major military defeat. Yeah. It arguably lost the 1812 war to us. Now, when the Americans...
And Vietnam.
Yeah, no, I was going to say Vietnam, but Vietnam's the one that stands out. But more recently, there's Iraq, Afghanistan, arguably Iran. Yeah. Arguably, I mean, there's a whole series of them.
It's funny that if the current Iran war ends in the terms that they entered the war in, then that would be seen as a victory. So what was it all about?
Yeah, it was
okay, there's no troops on the ground, so it's not a huge casualty of Americans, but at the end of the day, it's a huge failure. And Trump, being the anti-war president, ran on that ticket to get into office. He's let himself down. And personally, I've always liked Trump because he's all no holds barred and all that. He's got the charisma. But actually, why would I support a man who ran on an anti-war ticket and starts a war, and the economy's tanked as a result, the price of oil skyrocketed? This isn't the Trump of 2016. I wanted a chains ripped off Trump where nothing is off limits and he can go full throttle.
You wanted Trump to let rip.
Yeah. Well, he should be putting America at the top of the food chain, but I'm not really seeing that. And I think he's compromised on what he ran for, and therefore he's a lying politician. If there's one thing I hate in this world, Andre, it's lying politicians.
I'll tell you one thing that does worry me and does shock me is this situation with Air Force One. Just to explain what happened. So obviously, Air Force One is being replaced. there are two planes being fitted, but they have to literally rip them to bits and rebuild them.
Yeah.
And it's going to take years and years and years for the new Air Force One. So Qatar has given the United States of America an older 747, which has been turned into a temporary Air Force One. So Donald Trump flew to Ankara in Turkey on the new Air Force One, but he did not fly back on it. He flew back on the old one, and when they took off, they were told to all shut the windows because they weren't allowed to look outside the windows to see what was going on. Presumably that was because it was having some sort of an Air Force escort, which I think is now. He then flew from Ankara to the UK and swapped back into the new plane. I think what that says is the new plane is basically just an executive jet. It doesn't have all the safety measures that the older Air Force One has, and indeed the new one that's being developed has. But what it also says is he needed a plane with countermeasures against missile attacks when he flew out of Turkey. And the rumour, of course, is that that this is because of Iran trying to kill him.
Yeah, well, I'm not surprised to hear that.
There were signs up in Tehran saying £100 million bounty for anyone who kills Trump.
Yeah, well, they killed, is it Khamenei?
Khomeini.
Khomeini.
Yeah.
What's the K doing there then?
Right. Do you know what annoys me about that? So it's the Ayatollah Khomeini, and then there's the Ayatollah Khamenei, isn't there? They're like,
they're the same guy, isn't it?
No, it's not. No, it's not. There's been three of them.
Cool.
There's been three of them.
Can't keep up.
Khomeini was the
first got
first
his son now.
Khomeini was the first one. Khamenei is... Anyway, I'm presuming I'm getting this pronunciation right. Anyway, look, we're joined now by Matthew... sorry, after the break, we're going to be joined by Matthew Goodwin Freeman. He's a Conservative councillor and somebody who is pretty hacked off about what Peter Tatchell said about Ann Widdecombe when he called her a bigot. More next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is The Late Show with Andre Walker. Asher Gould is not here. I'm here with George Gilbert. Also, I have to say, I don't know if you know, but we've got TVs of every other channel up at the moment, and I can see my old boss, Andrew Rosendale, the Member of Parliament for Romford, now Reform Member of Parliament, talking to Newsnight from Switzerland in what looks like a sauna. So, I mean, why is he in the sauna? Look, George, look at that. He's in the sauna. What's he doing?
I don't blame him. I love a sauna.
In his suit.
Yeah,
can you imagine if he was there just in his Speedos?
In his underwear, yeah.
Absolutely. So George Goodwin Freeman, obviously, just Matthew Goodwin Freeman, just to remind you, Peter Tatchell today said that Ann Widdecombe had opposed all gay rights legislation and was a bigot. He didn't say he was glad she was dead, but clearly he focused on slagging her off for being a bigot rather than expressing any sorrow for her friends and family. I personally don't think she would have cared, but the consensus is, not only from George, but also from the viewers and listeners that messaged in, that it was grossly disrespectful to use today to say that. Matthew, what do you say?
Absolutely. And Andre, thank you for having me on. I know that it's a sauna sometimes in that studio, so you guys are doing a great job. What Peter Tatchell said was just wrong. Calling anyone a bigot at any time isn't right. To do it on the day that they've died under suspicious circumstances and now looks like murder is absolutely wrong.
Did it matter? Did it matter that? So he's obviously massively retracted now. They have announced that they believe it's a murder. Would it have mattered if it wasn't a murder? I mean, what if it is proved she just fell over? Would it have been less crass what he said?
It says so much about him, though, doesn't it? To not have the humanity and decency on a day when someone's died to just either bite your tongue or to frankly say, I'm really sorry, I hope that the family are all right. The irony is that Peter Tatchell is the director of the Peter Tatchell Foundation, which is all about human rights. So he, on one side, lectures about human rights, but then on the other side, doesn't have a care for the rights of the family of Ann Widdecombe, who today, this must be heartbreaking for them, because all of us, whether you're conservative, reform, whatever, all of us knew Ann Widdecombe, from Strictly to TV to theatre, whatever.
To Clever Dicks.
For her to loss is a national loss. You know, it's a national loss anyway.
And
but
also it's worth
it's a murder. That's dreadful.
It's also worth pointing out that, look, it would be wrong to say somebody aged 78 was in their prime, but I'll tell you what, she was no rocking chair and slippers either. I mean, this woman was going to be appointed to the House of Lords and actually had, I think, well, whilst she clearly wasn't at the stage in life where she could be an MP with all the challenges of working for a constituency, but I think she would have had a fair career in the Lords. And I just want to make that point, not because I believe that that it makes any difference. Clearly, nobody should be murdered, but at the same time, this is somebody who was not past her sell-by date in any meaningful way.
No, she was, I would describe, a unicorn, a one-off. She was so wonderful, so kind and lovely to everyone she ever met. As I said, she was a celebrity as well. She went on I'm a Celeb, on Strictly, TV, shows. She was a personality as well. And so that's the tragedy of all of this. Not only is it a loss, someone who gave decades of public service and being elected again and again, but also the suspicious circumstances, the fact it looks like it may be a murder, all of these things are more tragic. And that is where no one should be calling or celebrating her death. It's wrong at any time, especially not today.
But what is it? Right, so first of all, nobody agrees with me, but just to be clear, is there nothing to be said for my view, which is Ann Widdecombe wouldn't have cared. She stood by her views robustly in life and no doubt is standing by them robustly in heaven, in death. And actually, I think she would have said to Peter Tatchell, grow up. And I think Peter Tatchell can legitimately say, I wasn't mocking her death, I just didn't give a toss.
Well, Andre, I'll be the first one to agree with you. Ann Widdecombe said, we people have no right to... no, let me get this correct. She said people don't have the right to be offended. It's something that you were taken, it's not given. And absolutely, she would not have minded. But the point is that I agree. She was
it's not her, is it? It's the family.
Grow up. Grow up. Pick a different day, not today. And that's what I put out. I put out a tweet earlier on. I screenshotted what Peter Tatchell had said, and I said, I'm sorry, grow up. This is vile. Of all days, this is not the day to do it. He has put out that apology. He said it was insensitive. I think it was disgusting. But frankly, there's got to be repercussions for people. You cannot do this sort of a thing. It's just not right. It's not what we do in this country.
This is the type of people we're working with, though. We've got to acknowledge, as the right in politics, that the left will watch us die and laugh. They'll celebrate.
Yep.
Did it with Charlie Kirk, doing it now, doing it umpteen different times. We need to be more... I don't know. We need to take no prisoners with these people. They're scum of the earth, and if this is how they treat us in our darkest hours,
if this was Harriet Harman, and say it was, well, let's just go for it. Let's say it was me. Harriet Harman dined out on the hatred of others her entire life. She deliberately discriminated against men. She supported the paedophile information exchange in the 1970s, admittedly, not as a full member, but she was a posh girl coming from a privileged background who sought to kick away the ladder of opportunity from working class kids. If I said that on the day she died, I would never work again.
Exactly.
And that's fair enough, really, because it is a vulgar thing to say. But it just seems like it's one rule for them and another for us. We should show no empathy to them because they show none to us. And I know it's not a very Christian stance to take, you know, love thy neighbour and all that, but,
yeah, but you can only,
we need to show a bit of oomph.
Yeah, but you can only care about the Ann Widdecombe thing if you would not do it to somebody yourself. Can't you? Surely. I mean, sorry, Matthew. Surely, what George is saying is, well, they would do it. You know, this is their behaviour. I'll tell you what. Let's continue this discussion after the break. Anytime you like. Gallery.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
This is The Late Show with Andre Walker and George Gilbert and Matthew Goodwin Freeman. Matthew, what do you think will be the big legacy of Ann Widdecombe? I mean, will it be anything in terms of policy, or will it be more her style and her personality that will be remembered?
I think it's the style and personality. She had a bold voice. She could walk into a room and turn heads. She would always say what she was thinking, and she was a kind woman. At the end of the day, she lived her life by Christian values, a devout Christian. I genuinely think there are people mourning right now. We can't begin to understand how lovely a woman this was. And remember, she was happy to agree to disagree with anyone. You could have those disagreements. It wasn't a problem. She wouldn't hold it against you. She wouldn't be mean or vicious. That was the best thing, because we've lost that nowadays in politics. As George was saying, the lovely, fluffy left will say anything they want when it suits their agenda. They won't care when it comes to us. We saw it with Charlie Kirk. We saw it after Southport. We're seeing it now. And I think it's got on all of us to call it out like we've been doing. And
it's a really funny thing, because obviously throughout her life there were rumours about her, which I think were actually slightly unfair. And it was just because she was a single woman. But she was a single woman. And you know, I think nowadays there's not as much respect as there used to be for somebody who does something as a vocation. I mean, Ann Widdecombe, in reality, I mean, do you know, it's funny, isn't it? What one assumes that she was straight, but just never married. But I just couldn't imagine there being a husband or a wife of Ann Widdecombe, because she was. Do you know what I mean? I mean, could you imagine her sort of holding hands, running through a meadow with somebody? It just doesn't.
I get entirely what you mean. I mean, the image that I will take away of Ann Widdecombe is Strictly Come Dancing. That was what I saw when I was growing up. I think there was that moment where she spun on the floor and didn't really spin, and Anton de Beck sort of walked her round. But that's the thing. She was willing to have a go, throw herself into it, have fun, live life to the fullest. And I watched an interview she gave just the other day on this programme with Mark Dolan, where she was saying she's fighting, she's there, she's cracking on just 48 hours ago. And here we are now.
I think that's been reported as the last interview of Ann Widdecombe. I suppose the other question is, why was she not used more in politics? I mean, I will say one thing, which I've always thought. Look, she said of Michael Howard, there's something of the night about him. Well, I mean, the man's family is from Transylvania, right? Everybody from Transylvania looks a bit like that. The reason he looks a bit like Dracula is because Dracula was also from Transylvania, right? So it's okay. But jokes aside, in terms of very serious politics, that being a Home Office minister really was the extent of it, wasn't it? I mean, I'm surprised she was never put in the House of Lords or made an ambassador or something.
But she had such an impact outside of that. I mean, remember,
I agree with that.
How many decades was she a member of Parliament for the Conservative Party? Then leaving politics, coming back again with the Brexit Party in the European Parliament, getting us out of the EU, moving into reform and supporting them with the policies they're doing. Absolutely, I think she would have ended up in the Lords very soon, probably. It is a proper loss, but this is an example of how you can have an impact without having to have those ministerial roles or those nice cushy pay packets. She had a defining legacy on this country, and we will miss her for it.
Yeah, Matthew makes a great point there. I actually think she probably didn't make it into a cabinet position because people would fear that she would speak her mind to the public, and that may go against what you meant to say or meant to do. Because she was principled, it cost her a potentially higher career status.
Yeah, because
and that's a shame that that's the world we live in, but that's why she's a legend. She's a political legend.
Because of course, what you can say is 1997 comes along, that great cataclysm for the Conservative Party where John Major gets wiped out by Tony Blair in his first election as Prime Minister. And admittedly, she did, I think, initially run herself for the leadership, and then I think she backed Ken Clarke, might be wrong on that, and I think she refused to serve in William Hague's shadow cabinet. But that was a long time ago, and to be fair, there were other opportunities after that for her to be brought back. But she did very much stay as a commentator. And I suppose she's one of those people who now will be more famous as a commentator than really as a government minister, which I think also, potentially, Matthew, says something about the way that politics has changed, about the way that the centre of gravity in British national debate is no longer the House of Commons, necessarily.
Yes, I think we're moving slightly to more a presidential system. We care about the person at the top or the ones with the loudest voices or the best comms or social media than we do actually the art of policy. Just a quick example I'll give is the fact that back in the day, if a minister or a government broke an item in their manifesto, the relevant Secretary of State would resign. Nowadays, you have to commit a crime to actually resign. So the standards have dropped, and Ann Widdecombe was one of those where she gave it all. She said her mind. She was unapologetic, but you could always get on with her.
Yeah, and how well did you know her? I mean, look, everyone knew her, but did you spend any time with her? Because I met her once or twice, but I wouldn't like to say I knew her.
No, it's one of those things where you've always seen these people from the outside but never actually got to meet them. And so, yeah, for me, it was never getting to actually meet her. Seeing her on Strictly, as I said, I'm a celebrity, as well as in politics and the European Parliament. We've all seen that video of her saying, "We're leaving," and all of them waving the flags. So, yeah, a celebrity politician.
Now, let me tell you one thing that maybe I'm not supposed to tell you, but David Cameron always maintained that she turned down the job of ambassador to the Holy See and instead went on Strictly Come Dancing.
Yeah.
That's superb. Apparently afterwards she said she was still up for doing it, and he said, "No, you're not refusing an ambassadorship to go on Strictly." And then when you get turfed out, making a bit of a comeback. One final question to you, Matthew, and then I'll come to George and ask exactly the same question. When you look at her life and her legacy, are we now incredibly worried that really politicians are just not up to that standard anymore? Where is the next Ann Widdecombe coming from? Is the system stacked against a single-minded person like that?
I mean, that's a real question. A lot of the MPs we currently have at the moment were either paper candidates or SPADs or PPSs or things like that who were never meant to be a member of Parliament, just chucked on the ballot paper and ended up with it. We have lost that being a member of parliament is an actual career, a skill, a job, a dedication to the British public to deliver for them. And now it is this thing where either you're Andy Burnham and you're jumping ready to be the next prime minister, or you are someone who was never meant to be an MP, got on a lucky ticket, and ended up doing 5 years as a member of parliament and will be there in the records now forever. It is a shame. I have no idea where the next Ann Widdecombe's coming from, but I don't think we'll ever replace her. You know, she was, I think, one of the most famous female politicians since Margaret Thatcher.
I think you're probably right. Matthew Goodwin Freeman, thank you so much. George Gilbert, finally, just exactly the same question. Can we ever find another person like that, or is the system just stacked against them?
Right now, no. I think that kind of character belongs in the commentary space, and maybe that's a good thing because they can funnel their any commentator arguably has more of an impact on policy.
I think that's right.
Because they can generate conversation and sway public opinion if you're big enough. So maybe that's a good thing, but in reality, by not having characters like Widdecombe who are principled to the highest extent, where they will not budge. If they believe something, they will sooner lose their position or a future career opportunity rather than compromise on their own beliefs. And that's priceless in a democracy. So the fact that all of these politicians of today's generation would rather say something they don't believe in one bit, all because, hold on, maybe I don't like Andy Burnham, for example, but if I say I do, then maybe I could be Chancellor one day. Things like that happen, and it just makes the degree of quality in our political class so much weaker than it was in Widdecombe's day. So
hang on, right? This upsets me. Somebody has said, why don't we mention that amazing thing when she took Philpott to task? I don't know what that is. We're going to have to find out what that is, Gallery. When Ann Widdecombe took Philpott to task.
News to me.
Apparently Philpott was scum.
OK. Well, yeah...
So could that be Mick Philpott, who murdered his children?
Gould knows. I'm not the man to answer that. I just think Ann Widdecombe, as I said earlier, she was one of only a few MPs to vote against the Equality Act and the Climate Change Act. I think there was less than 10. So to be that willing to put your head above the parapet against going against the grain and what you're meant to do or meant to vote for, says everything about her.
Great, and you can't do another sentence because that's the end of the show.
Yeah.
End of this part of the show. Thank you.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Okay, this is the paper review with Andre Walker and Andy Preston. And Andy is the former mayor of Middlesbrough. It's a slightly odd situation because you are somebody associated with the Conservative Party, but you've never been a Conservative politician.
Never.
Okay, why was that?
Because, well, look, in the 90s, the early 2000s, Britain was doing well, the economy was going well, things were good, and I was a supporter of Tony Blair. I loved that centrism, that phrase, tough on crime, tough on the causes of crime, tax rates were low, we looked after everyone. The world's changed, Andre. We're skint, the economy's sluggish, the state of the country has changed, the crime profile has changed, and we need a different approach. So I'm now centre-right, because that's the sensible way forward in this modern world.
Do you think that there's some suggestion that Tony Blair genuinely didn't realise the damage he was doing with the constitutional vandalism? I think he's proud of his premiership, and I think there are things to be proud of. He lifted a large number of children out of poverty. I think some of the education programmes were particularly good. I think probably widening access to university went wrong in some respects, but was very good in other areas. I think obviously the more pro-business attempts, and perhaps bringing back the trade unions a little bit more was something that kind of helped. And you know, there are other successes, but I think the constitutional vandalism was bad, and I think that it has fallout today, doesn't it?
So what do you mean by constitutional vandalism?
I mean things like the Kwangoktisation of Britain. I think the idea of things like Supreme Courts that cause a great deal of confusion. I think the fact that if you watch PMQs now, Andy, if you remember, when we used to watch it in the 90s, somebody'd stand up, remember when it was twice a week, somebody'd stand up and go, will the Prime Minister do this? Now they say, will the Prime Minister lobby the Environment Agency
That's exactly
to do
right.
this?
And it's because they've chickened out. They love the Quangos because then it means that the government is handling it, but the Prime Minister and the Cabinet are not personally responsible for what the Environment Agency or other Quangos do. So it's because they love a get-out. Politicians want the praise and the power without the responsibility or accountability. So we need to push back, get rid of loads of the Quangos, make the ministers responsible, and let's hold them to account.
Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about Andy Burnham, because you are somebody who is, right, just to explain to everybody, and I never take the mick out of my viewers and listeners if they don't understand something, because people are busy. So just to be clear, you've got the mayor that most of you are used to, which will be a local councillor elected for 1 year to go round being the representative of your local community in the same way as the king does it for the country. So you will have a king and a prime minister, and then in most places you have a mayor and a leader of the council. That is not what you were.
That's exactly right.
You are somebody who literally ran a large local authority.
Yes, so basically what you've described there is what you call a ceremonial mayor. Yeah. I was what you call a city mayor, so I was in charge of what happened in the town. It means you get the blame. You don't have all of the power, but you get the blame for everything.
So you are much more like a directly elected leader of the council. I
was literally directly elected. So instead of the councillors voting for me and saying, you can be the boss, the public chose me. Now, that's great because it gives the public someone to put the blame onto. We touched earlier and said that politicians want power without the accountability.
Yeah.
As an elected mayor, Andre, I have to tell you, I would get phone calls, and how people got my number, I'd get texts, I'd get messages via social media. Oh, the pavement outside my mother's house is terrible, she's got nightmare neighbours, I've got a problem with drug dealing. Things that I can't directly do, but you are the face, you are wholly accountable. It's beautiful that people want to work with you and interact with you, but it's a nightmare. You get dragged into everything. But the last type of mayor Andy Burnham is what you call a metro mayor.
Yes.
Where, a bit like running a whole county council instead of a city council, where you're looking at investment across a range of boroughs. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So that is precisely the reason why I mentioned all the stuff about the different types of mayoralties. So for some of you, you will be very familiar with this. If you are in London, if you're in Manchester, if you're in Merseyside, if you're in the West Midlands, you will know what we're talking about here. But it looks like what Andy Burnham is going to do is, first of all, everybody will get a metro mayor. So all of you, your county roughly will have one of these people directly elected, like a Sadiq Khan, like an Andy Burnham, like various other people across the country. So first of all, I invite you to comment on whether you think that's a good idea. But also, this other thing about this number 10 North. Now, I'm going to line up what I think about this. I think it is absolutely crazy to have two governments with different powers doing different things. I think that is just completely nuts. What I do think, Andy Burnham, when he was the Secretary of State for Culture, Media and Sport, decided that he wanted to get the BBC out of London. Now, there'd been an experiment with Pebble Mill, which you'll remember, which was one studio going to Birmingham. And it hadn't worked. And what Andy Burnham said was, look, the way we're actually going to move the BBC is not to move it bit by bit, is to move the lot to Media City. Now, I would suggest to you, and I don't know if anyone's going to disagree with me, that Media City, the relocation from Television Centre to Media City has been a success, right? It seems to me it's been a success. They've probably made a shed load of money off it as well, because they've been able to sell the old Television Centre site. I find it curious that Andy Burnham, knowing the incremental failure of Pebble Mill and the success of Media City, hasn't just said, let's sell Whitehall, because I think it is absolutely crazy for all of those government departments to still be based in Whitehall. I mean, as an example, the Department for Transport, I mean, surely Birmingham is a better location for the Department for Transport, it being the centre of the British transport.
Put it in Spaghetti Junction, right in the middle of Spaghetti Junction.
The centre of the British transport system. But so I think, first of all, and I know I've given you a lot, first on the Metro Mayors, but secondly, on this idea of...
On the number 10 North.
Yeah.
Right, OK, so Metro Mayors, the idea is brilliant. The idea is that you've got a single person who's in charge of regeneration across a bigger area, because a single city council might be very small. It might be 4 miles by 4 miles.
Yes.
But it's got an urban area of, I don't know, 1 million people, right?
Yes.
So you need someone who looks after all of that, coordinates investment. It sounds great. The problem is that for politicians, that is a beautiful job. And what I mean by that is Metro Mayors cut ribbons, hand out huge cheques. The budgets they get to deal with, the money they get from central government is monstrous. Now, that sounds good, and it is good, but what it means is they are always handing out money. They are Father Christmas. They're not responsible for bins or potholes or social services or all the stuff that drives you mad about local councils. All they do is hand out money. So the public love them, so they're very rarely not re-elected. Andy Burnham kept getting in. Steve Rotherham in Liverpool, next door to Grady Manchester, kept getting in. Or where I hang out in the Tees Valley, the Middlesbrough, Stockton area, Ben Houchin keeps getting in. Metro Mayors are almost always re-elected because they aren't linked with central government in people's heads, and they hand out money. So Metro Mayors...
But you haven't complained about the next problem with that. So you've highlighted some of the problems. One of the concerns that I've got about Metro Mayors is it creates a system where people constantly have the handout. And I just worry that when we finish creating this system, there's going to be 4 people in Surrey that pay the bill for absolutely everybody else. Because it seems to me that all you're doing constantly is slagging the government off and not giving you enough cash.
That's exactly right. So the Metro Mayor is not incentivised to talk the government up. The Metro Mayor is incentivised to talk himself or herself up, which is what they do. And the ones that have got great PR machines are always re-elected. Look, devolution can be a great thing, but I promise you this. If you analyse how Metro Mayors have done, like really dig into it, there is zero evidence that Metro Mayors are good for your economy. Now, some people cite Manchester, how well it did, but Manchester, I promise you, was doing exceptionally well before Andy Burnham turned up. It's doing well under him, but it was doing well anyway. If you go north of Manchester up to Glasgow, 200 miles north, Glasgow's doing phenomenally well. Doesn't have a Metro Mayor.
Yes.
There is no evidence that Metro Mayors... What they are is a great voice for the area. They champion, they challenge government. But they are a Father Christmas figure who's going to get re-elected. They're not real politicians.
See, what I would do, and this is, I think, quite a challenging political view for a lot of people, I attempted to set up a town council in Windsor. Right. Now, let me just take you a step back. 1974, Local Government Act, it merges all these boroughs together. And what we did was we created the other town. I'm from one of the other towns. So I'm from the borough of Wigan, and I'm from a town called Lee. Many other people will be familiar with this. I worked for the Member of Parliament for Morecambe. Morecambe is the other town. It's now in the city of Lancaster, and there's this bit called Morecambe. So all these towns get merged together. There are some places where they've kept both town names, the Royal Borough of Windsor and Maidenhead being an example, because you couldn't call it the Royal Borough of Maidenhead. I had to call it Windsor and Maidenhead. Anyway, but I believe that now, because we've got so much cross-border working and so much outsourcing, you have an ability to create smaller councils. And I actually would go hyper-local. What I would love to see, and this is, I think, probably quite controversial, is for each tiny, tiny little community to have their own councillors.
Well, you can have a parish council.
You can,
and then get a small budget. What parish councils are very good is gathering all of the grumbles, all of the thoughts, all the wishes of that village or little small area of a town and really lobbying hard and making a fuss, and that's when they can work really well. There is an issue with councils getting very small, that the bureaucracy isn't scaled down to the same extent.
That is true.
So that's an issue, actually. The right size for a council, all the research I've done, is probably 200,000 to 300,000 people.
Yes.
As you get much bigger than that, they come unwieldy and not focused enough on detail. And as you get much smaller, they're just too small to work. But parish councils have very limited power. But see,
what I quite like about the idea of parish councils and town councils, and by the way, a town council is a parish council, it's a different name. I should explain that. What I quite like about them is this. People in the 1970s were not idiots. They understood that the idea of putting towns together did create a democratic deficit, at least to some extent. But there was, and I can't tell you where it was in the country because I can't remember, but there was somewhere that had a 10,000 resident fire authority, right? And can you imagine running a fire brigade for 10,000 people? It's just crazy, right?
Everyone's a part-time fireman.
Yeah,
everyone.
Exactly. You're never going to be able to. But I do think that one of the things that we've lost are things like the old guilds of freemen. I think the things that we've lost are the local honours system. I think the things that we've lost, and you can bring all that back with a hyper-local. I think you've hit on something, Andre. I think you've hit on something. Because we don't know our neighbours as well as we did in the 70s, because we're more isolated, because we don't go to the pub like we used to, for better or worse, we aren't as cohesive, and a smaller council would absolutely bring things a bit closer together. Now, the other thing, of course...
But there's a cost. There's a cost to that.
People make a joke, of course, about the most famous parish council, probably, I think, in
Dibley?
British... Dibley. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But the thing was about Dibley Parish Council from the Vicar of Dibley, jokes aside, it always got there in the end, didn't it?
No, it did, absolutely. I promise you, if people are watching or listening, Andre, and they're frustrated what's going on in their borough, they don't feel the councillors are listening, get together with some neighbours, some friends, lobby, look it up, you can use AI, ChatGPT or something, how to set up a parish council. It's very hard.
And you can do it.
And you can do it. And you can get in charge of a patch of money to look after your grass verges and plant some flowers, but most importantly, you then get a voice to challenge authority.
I'll tell you what I liked.
Do it. Please do it. Please do it.
I'll tell you what I also liked about this idea was this. I think that now one of the big weaknesses with the 74 Act and bringing these together is too much stuff is done by government. I always give this example. In Windsor, I used to live on Clarence Road. It doesn't matter that you don't know where that is, but it's the walk that you would have to take from Attic nightclub to Dedworth, which is the main residential bit of Windsor. So I would suggest you Friday, Saturday nights, loads of young lads and young girls walking home, and they drop kebab wrappers, whatever. Do you know what? Saturday morning, Sunday morning, I used to get up, and if I was walking to the shops, I'd just pick them up and throw them in the nearest wheelie bin.
Did you? Good for you.
Now,
good for you.
The reality is, when people normally, because we're now in that train of thought, oh my God, there's so much rubbish on the street, get the council down. And do you know what I said?
Totally.
What I said about the parish council, or rather the town council. Somebody said, well, if we take over parks, what are we going to do about Alexandra Gardens? I said, have you got a spade? But of course, if you are hyper-local like that, you don't need a contractor.
We have lost the way, the will and the desire to look after our community, and everything is everyone else's problem. So
yes, that's right.
Most Sundays I go out with a group of volunteers and we litter pick somewhere in the Middlesbrough area, and we do different patches, and it's great, and we get volunteers out, and it's fantastic. The number of comments we get on Facebook is saying, oh, we should get over our area, it's a disgrace.
And you think, do it yourself.
And now I typically say, well, we will come to you, so long as you'll join us, mate. And they never do.
No.
They never do. And Britain has lost that. I don't know about other countries. Britain has lost that sense of we are responsible for where we live. Parish councils are great. I love we're onto this, by the way. I love we're onto. I hope you're going to set one up for Windsor, by the way.
Well, no, actually, funnily enough, the Conservatives voted against it, and then they got booted out of office, so there's some justice in the
rouse the public, rabble-rouse them.
I think it is. I think my argument is the reason that people don't like parish councils is they see it as another tier of bureaucracy. What I wanted was, I said, look, now, you will understand why I said this, but the council, the Royal Borough of Windsor made that going crazy. I said, let's have 100 councillors, because parish councillors are unpaid.
Yeah.
So they said, well, where will we get 100 people? I said, well, actually, I said, you know what I'd do? And actually, the law doesn't provide for this. I'd do it like the Iowa caucus, where what you do is every street sort of gets together and decides who their local council is.
Why not?
But what I said was, you have to understand the purpose of this is to encourage volunteering and to get people together. So 100 unpaid councillors is brilliant. It will be a bit higgledy-piggledy and all over the place, and there will be the old nutter who talks for 20 minutes each.
So what?
But there we go.
So what?
That's the way it works.
So what?
That's the way it works.
No, that is beautiful. That is exactly what we should do. And I would urge you to... And I say again, honestly, Andre, anyone that's listening, if you're frustrated with where you live, lack of response from your councillors, put it into ChatGPT or another form of AI, how to set up a parish council. Take control.
But just to revolve this back to the reason that I wanted you to come on to talk about the Andy Burnham situation is that, look, whatever you think about Andy Burnham's background, he doesn't get that, does he? He is very much a government will do this. Let's get the government out into the community.
That's his mindset.
It's not let's get the community into government.
Britain has become a place of the government will take responsibility for this. And governments have a role, of course the blooming do. But we absolutely have lost that. Grabbing hold of your own life, grabbing hold of your street, grabbing hold of your community, saying, I have a responsibility to fix this. Nobody wants to take responsibility, Andre, and that's what's costing a fortune, and that's why we're going down the pan. It's not actually government's fault, it's our fault because we expect them to do it.
And I think that people need to understand, when I'm talking about picking up a few kebab wrappers, it's not an onerous task. The bin is next year. It's 3 or 4.
5 minutes on your way to work.
Exactly right.
And you know what? The more wrappers you leave, if you don't pick them up, the next person that walks down, if they're carrying something, they're more inclined to drop it, and it gets worse and worse and worse.
Absolutely right.
Absolutely.
Right. OK, look, this is the paper review with Andre Walker and Andy Preston. What we're going to do is we are going to look at the papers, but just inevitably, I just wanted to say to you, all the front pages are about Ann Widdecombe. Somebody has been arrested. We hope, fingers crossed, that it turns out she wasn't murdered. Looking increasingly unlikely, I admit, but she still might have fallen. We hope that, but obviously we don't want to speculate too much, but we'll be back after the break.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
OK, this is the paper review with Andre Walker and Andy Preston. Andy and I didn't know, but you, the viewers and listeners, have got in touch with us about this Mick Philpott thing. So people keep saying, Ann Widdecombe, Mick Philpott, Ann Widdecombe. And I'm thinking, well, hang on, Mick Philpott's the bloke who set fire to his house in Derby and all of his children died, and he was attempting to do it in order to look like a hero. He ended up killing, I think, 6 of his children. Unbelievably, he'd been on Jeremy Kyle before. Ann Widdecombe lived with the family for a BBC documentary. a year before he killed his children.
Wow.
Now, I've got to be honest with you, I've not seen the documentary. It sounds like you haven't either.
Definitely not.
But I'm definitely going to watch it when I get home.
I remember the case. I mean, horrible, horrible case. It was a grim story.
Do you know what? It's a late-night show. He was a real shit, wasn't he? Just in every
You know what?
respect.
A total wrong, and I just... Look, I don't believe in the death penalty, but I would like to see somebody like that just locked up forever. There's no chance of release. It's just... They cannot do good. They're never going to come good.
I mean, yeah, I mean, even if his misadventure had come off, putting your children at risk in order to look like a hero, saving them from a burning building, even that, I mean,
There's a severely diseased brain there.
It's just real.
There are people that you can't fix, and we spend too much time trying to fix them and we release them, and one time in 10 they do similar stuff, or worse.
Yeah.
Remember the James Bulger awful case?
Yes.
That toddler. One of those was released, and he's been in and out of prison several times on child porn and other things.
I've got to tell you, that guy's called John Venables.
That's right.
And here is the frustration. Right, so just to be clear on John Venables, even now, even after he admitted to using cocaine, he admitted to child pornography, he admitted to... The reason he had to be moved was that he told people at his place of work that he was one of the Bulger killers living under a fake name. It's still illegal for me to give you any details at all that give you anything about John Venables. But I will tell you that I met him when he was out of prison.
How did you meet him?
The problem is I can't tell you.
Wow.
It would be a criminal offence for me to tell you where I'd come into contact with him because of the anonymity for life. But what I will say is that Ralph Bulger keeps going to court because he believes the British public should know what where John Venables was placed after he left incarceration. And I think if you knew what I knew, you would agree that the authorities have questions that they need to answer. Unfortunately, we can't ask any of those questions.
There's no way he should be released. The crime was just disgusting, disgraceful. It was horrific. He was released. I think he's been done for a fray. He's been done for taking cocaine. He was done for child pornography. He was sent back in. I think he was released again, but I think he may be inside now.
Yeah, I think my understanding of what happened was this. He took cocaine and admitted to friends that he was the Bulger killer, and then it was starting to go viral. Right. So Robert Thompson, I mean, I'm not saying you should do this, but Robert Thompson, you cannot find a picture of him as an adult. No. If you are expert enough, you can find pictures of John Venables as an adult. So he called the police and said, oh my God, you're going to have to evacuate me, and was destroying his computer when they got to the house. So, of course, the police being, I think fairly obviously thought, well, hang on, why is he destroying the computer? Recovered the computer and found a child rape manual on it, included amongst the other things that he had. Look, the guy's just off his head.
Absolutely. Why would you consider releasing him, right? Despite what he's done, even if that hadn't happened, why would you release someone who actually was found guilty of the Bulger horror?
Yes.
Why should they ever be released? The risk is not worth taking, is it? It's insane.
No, I think we've we've seen lots of things, but there's been an example just I think today, which I think Guido Fawkes reported, if we can find it, about one of the guys associated with the 7/7 bomb attack being released. He was somebody who was put under psychiatric evaluation for a significant amount of time, and now he is back out into the public. And I think, if I get this right, I'll pull it up right now. Nick Timothy and a few others have written to David Lammy asking why on earth we would want to allow out this dangerous nutter. I mean, I don't understand.
Why would you? I mean, forget actually the politics. The public won't thank you for letting him out, so politically you shouldn't do. But what's the upside, actually? What is the upside of letting a dangerous criminal who has a history of seeking to mass murder, what is the upside in doing that?
Yeah, so here we go. So Haroon Aswat, it was in a secure psychiatric institution at the Bethlehem mental institution, Bedlam. Mm-hmm. So I think pretty famous place. But he was included. He was known to have helped plot the 7/7 bomb attacks, which killed 52 people. He placed 20 calls to people involved in it. He was convicted in the US in 2015 with conspiring with Abu Hamza, to go to a terrorist training camp. He was sentenced to 20 years, which was later reduced. But this is the thing, Andy. We hear time and time again, reduced. Our friend Shabir Ahmed, Daddy of the grooming gangs, what a repulsive nickname that is, you know, he gets sentenced to 43 years and does 14.
Absolutely.
It's
nobody you could ever meet would think there was any rationality in that.
No.
Why the hell would you do it? And politically, it's toxic as well. Our system is just so knackered. Is it a desire to see the good in everyone? Why would our authorities do that?
I think there's a major problem. I think there is a major problem with one-by-one do-gooding and forgetting to see. I mean, I hate to sound like a Benthamite utilitarian, but I think there is a point at which you say there needs to be the greatest good for the greatest number of people. And I think what we've done is, if you look at, as an example, the Human Rights Act, when you had, you know, Churchill come in with the Human Rights Act, and he has, as an example, the right to family life, what he was thinking in terms of, you know, Adolf Eichmann sending men to the left and women to the right during the Holocaust. That's what he was thinking of. He wasn't thinking of, I have murdered somebody and now I'm being deported to Pakistan, but you can't deport me because my wife still lives. He was not thinking of that. No. But it's been turned from a way of protecting yourself from an overbearing government into an overbearing government forcing you to have your human rights reduced. And we've seen, since the Human Rights Act was integrated into British law, the greatest reduction in human rights in our history.
I mean, there's always a trade-off, isn't there, between protecting the rights of the individual versus the safety of the general public.
Yes.
And clearly we've just gone way too far on the individual. Look, I would give up some of my personal rights if it meant that the community as a whole was safer.
Yeah.
We are obsessed with civil liberties. Obsessed with it.
But I think it's not civil liberties, it's more the human rights itself. I mean, that guy with the chicken nuggets, it's very, very clear that, so the chap, he's being deported to Albania. His son has Asperger's and will only eat chicken nuggets. Now, that's not a particularly unusual thing for an autistic child to just want to eat one food. The chicken nuggets in Albania were not to his taste. Therefore, under the right to family life, he gets to stay in the UK.
You are joking.
No, I'm not joking.
This cannot be true. It is. I mean, it's funny, but it's not funny, is it? It's insane.
But there was a bloke who ran over a 7-year-old and was able to stay in the UK because his cat would be sad. Now, it was disputed as to whether he was allowed to stay in the UK because his cat would be upset, but he certainly said it in court.
Absolutely, he did. He cited it. He had a cat, was an evidence of a family life.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I find very sad about the whole thing. It's the way that it seems to me, when it comes to these immigration courts, any reason at all that you can come up with. I mean, we deport, what, 4% of people who illegally arrive.
Absolutely.
Any excuse. So the reason it's not funny is because, you know, oh, my cat would be sad, I don't like the chicken nuggets in Albania. It seems to me that the only people that get deported are people who've got no argument whatsoever. Just not even, you know, I prefer Next underpants to the ones I can buy in Bangladesh, would be a reason to stay. Right?
I mean, the big one, of course, is converting to Christianity.
Yeah.
That's converted in quote marks, so that you say, well, if I now go back to XYZ country, I'll be persecuted because I'm a Christian.
I'll tell you what, there's a guy who texted me the other day, one of our viewers, he said, my mosque is full of gay Christians. Absolutely, full to the brim. Anyway, this is the pay-per-view with Andre Walker and Andy Preston. We are taking a casual attitude to the front pages, but I just want to be very, very clear, because they are all about Ann Widdecombe, and we can't talk about it. We don't know the implications of this yet. We don't know she's been murdered. I know you're all sat at home yawning, going, well, that's ridiculous. She's been found on the floor with a pool of blood and they've arrested a guy for murder. It's still a theory at this stage, so you've got to be slightly careful. But also, we don't know whether this is a debate about giving better protection to politicians, whether it's a risk to journalists. Her last interview was on this channel 48 hours ago, well, a bit over that. We don't know whether it's about people converting to Islam and committing terror attacks. We don't know if it's a failure of the mental health system or just a problem with burglary. Therefore, it's very hard for Andy and I to comment in any way specifically, and we have been asked not to. But we'll be back with the front pages to the extent we can talk about them after this.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
I love my family, and my dad is coming to visit me with my brother and my nephew, and they're in my house at the moment, and I've already got the call going, how do you work the TV? That is a prelude to your TV's broken, which will be the message I get later. Well, and I'll go, Dad, my TV wasn't broken when I left the house. Well, it is now. I didn't do anything, didn't you? Because I left and it was fine. And, yeah, it's slightly confused. I've got, like, 5 different TV systems.
Oh, and you get the different clickers, right, the different controls. Yeah. Oh, it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
It takes months to learn, right, the order of doing it. You press this one, and then you press that one, and then, oh, my
Well, do you know what? One of the streams into the TV is my computer, and I've now got Sky, Cartina and all that on apps. Just open it as an app.
Can someone not just devise a system, like one thing with one controller? Surely that's coming.
Well, let's do that.
Please God.
That will be our business.
After the Parish Council, we'll do that.
Yeah, absolutely. OK, so what do we want to talk about? Do we want to talk a bit about the football? What do you think? How we get? Oh God!
Do you know what I mean? Cup games, Andre. You just never know. England are a stronger side. Obviously, a much bigger country. We're talking about what, 60 million almost in England, 7 million in Norway, and that's really interesting itself. I mean, obviously, you've got the Harry Kane dynamic versus the Erling Haaland. 2 great centre forwards, the battle of those two. But the fact that it's going to be close, it's going to be a battle between a minuscule little country and a giant footballing nation like England. That's really interesting. And fair play to Norway. Respect to them, right? Up there with the big teams.
Why will it be? Sorry, I mean, I'm not talking in pure football terms, but what have Norway done that means a country that's a tenth of the size in terms of population can give us a run for our money or even beat us?
I do not know. I really do not know.
They spend a lot on education.
I mean, they do, and it's a very rich country. I mean, their sovereign wealth fund has got trillions in it.
Yeah, because they're selling us our gas.
Absolutely right. Tiny country, fabulously wealthy. People are healthy. They're well nourished. They're tall when you meet them. But I don't know. Are they particularly sporty? Apart from the winter sports, are they particularly good? I don't know. But they're good at football. For some reason, they are good at football.
I tell you what, Norway's got a weird system. I went to visit the Young Conservative Conference in Norway, and first of all, they made speeches in English because there was English people there. Right? The weird thing about the Norwegians is when they speak English, they sound like they're English, which is very, very, very confusing. I had a friend of mine who worked for Statoil, the Norwegian state oil company, and he said, the one thing you have to remember about Norwegians is they're not English. Right, so he said the big problem that you had was this. You go, well, I think Johnny's very brave to have said that in the meeting. And the Norwegians will think, oh, they think Johnny's brave, right? And he goes, what you have to do is you have to remember, they can understand every word, they sound,
but they
don't necessarily get the nuance. The weird thing about Norway is that it's illegal to buy alcohol in a normal shop. You have to go to a government-sponsored shop, or at least you did when I went there. But anything below 3.5% alcohol is not considered an alcoholic drink.
Wow. So when I was a lad, lager was 3 to 3.5%. That was your standard lager.
Yeah, yeah.
So what does that mean? A kid can buy
absolutely right. Yeah. So Heineken at 3.2%. Basically, kids would pop in. You'd see them in the in the local shop, the equivalent of like an Asian shop we might have over here. Don't want to be stereotypical, but you know,
your corner shop,
your little corner shop. Yeah, and you know, one lad's having a Coke and another one's having a Heineken.
Wow. Wow. I don't know whether that's good or bad.
I'll tell you what I think is good about this. I think the idea, and the Dutch have this as well, where weak beer and other alcohol are 2 different categories of thing. So I think it's true to say, and I might be wrong on this, I think in the Netherlands, you can drink beer from the age of like 14, but you can't drink anything else until you're 18.
Right.
And they're very, very rigorous about it. So you can walk into a pub and get anything under, I think, once again, 3.5%, and you're OK. I think that's quite sensible.
There's definitely something in immersing people in that because alcohol's naughty, right? Because you can't touch it till you're 18. As a 14, 15-year-old, it's like catnip. It's the secret thing that you're not allowed, right?
That's
going to change your life and prove how tough you are.
Let's be clear. Teenage boys have conversations about two things: girls and beer.
Absolutely
I mean,
right.
that's it.
Absolutely right. So my son, he went to this school, he was in this social group and with the parents or whatever else, that from the age of 13, we'd let them have a little beer, a little small bottle of beer, drink that, and as they got towards 15, maybe a bottle or two, 16, 2 or 3. Anyway, he went to a different school, age 16, where different culture. None of them were ever allowed to drink. And he went to their first ever, like, Christmas do, and they're all 16-year-olds are there. And the kids were going in, smuggling a small bottle of vodka, glugging it in the toilets, and then they would collapse. And I picked my son up at midnight, and he said, they were all really drunk. And I was like, yeah, it's kind of normal. He said, well, why would you do that? Why would you go somewhere, drink a bottle of vodka and fall on the floor and vomit? And he thought that, not because he was super mature, but because he'd been growing up around a bottle of beer. It wasn't secret, it wasn't special, it wasn't big. But these kids that had never been allowed to touch it, Andre, they went crazy as soon as they were allowed to. So there's something about immersing people in that,
I love that great story that Zoe Ball tells, that her dad, John, what's his name? Johnny Ball.
Johnny Ball, the science guy.
Yeah, and he said that for her 16th, brilliant idea, for her 16th birthday, what he said was, right, we're going to serve alcohol at this as long as your parents are happy, and what will happen is you'll all bring us 4 cans, right, and we will give you 4 glasses of beer. You're all having the same beer, because I'm not pouring different ones, but you all bring your own. So what he did was he got all the beer, put it to one side, and then went to Asda and bought the 2% stuff. Right? And he said, I give them all that. They were all very happy. And then he said, at the end of the night, I give them the beer back and said, there's your 4 cans.
I think that World Cup some years ago they did that. They had a fan zone and they got all the England fans there, and the beer was really cheap and all having a great time, and it was 0 alcohol, and nobody twigged it. No one at all.
You wouldn't. You wouldn't. Mocktails as well.
Absolutely. Not staggering around.
So I do want to ask you one question about Prince Harry. Obviously, he's in the country. Meghan and the children are coming over. I have to say, I've got some sympathy with him, with his idea of having security when he's in Britain. So I completely accept this ludicrous idea they had that they were going to take the Royalty Protection Division to California to protect them round the clock. That would mean the house would be as secure as Prince William's house in the Windsor estate. It would have cost the British taxpayer millions and millions and millions. Because just to be clear, and people may not think of it like this, you know, these police officers, you know, you can't just give them a sofa bed if they're working there for 3 months.
Absolutely.
You have to put them up in a hotel.
And it's 24 hours, so you need 3 every day.
Exactly right. So you need 3 for each thing. You need 3 of them. Then you need the permissions to get to use a firearm in America, which I don't think's that easy as a foreign national. They'd probably have to have diplomatic accreditation in order to have the firearms, and then obviously a standard thing for the police. If you're away from home, you get time and a half or whatever it is. If you're literally living away for 3 months on the tour of duty. It would have cost millions, but I think when he comes to the UK, I don't have a problem with him being picked up in the airport.
But surely, Andre, look, they've turned their back on the royal family. They've turned their back on that way of life, and they're not part of the royal family as such. Why should they get protection here? And they're wealthy. They're wealthy. Why do they need our money?
I just think for practicality.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
And I don't think if they're coming for a 2-week holiday once a year, I don't think it's particularly onerous to pick them up in a couple of cars at the airport and ferry them around.
No, it's not. You're right. You're right. But you know, I'm thinking that it's not like they're going to go to Pizza Express in Woking. By the way, sorry, can we just stop everyone? Stop everyone. We've just got to make this point. To all of you fans of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, admittedly a dwindling number. Right. Now, just remember, Andy, I'm going to ask you the question. Right.
Have you ever gone to dinner and a nightclub? Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Did anyone point out to Andrew Mountbatten Windsor that Pizza Express closes at 10 o'clock, whereas Tramp's nightclub opens at 10 o'clock. Therefore, if you went to Pizza Express Wokingham at 4 p.m, that doesn't preclude you from going to a nightclub.
No, I couldn't have been there at 2 in the morning because I was having a pizza at 8 p.m. No, that's right, you could.
It was 4 p.m.
I didn't think of that, of course.
He said well, I was at Pizza Express Wokingham at 4 p.m.
Oh,
well, you think, well, listen, how long is it going to take you to do your pizza? You're going to be done by 5 at the latest. And do you know, he could have gone to Pizza Express in Wokingham, had his pizza, got back to London, and still waited for 4 hours in the queue outside the campsite.
Absolutely. But thinking of Harry and Meghan, right? I mean, look, surely they're not going to Pizza Express, are they? They're not doing anything risky. They're not walking up and down Oxford Street, are they? They're not even going on Bond Street shopping.
No.
Like, what is really the risk to them?
I think. Well, funnily enough, what is the risk? I'm going to answer it in a completely different way. I think the risk with them is what they're going to film when they're actually in, you know, behind the royal protection curtain. So they wanted to stay in Buckingham Palace, and there was a reluctance to put them there in case cameras and recording equipment were smuggled in. I think the reason that
What do you mean, for documentaries?
Yes.
Or for spot? Right, I see.
Particularly her.
Right, OK.
So I think they were deeply upset. I think the royal family were rightly deeply upset about what colour will Archie be. I personally, look, you know, my family are mixed race, or there are elements of my family that are mixed race. Obviously not me, but I think what will the child look like if one parent's British and the other's Chinese?
It's the most natural conversation in the world.
Absolutely.
Of course it is.
Absolutely.
Even if they're the same ethnic group, you said, oh, will he have his dad's nose? Will he have his mother's height, or whatever? All of these. It's the most normal conversation.
I think to say, I wonder what colour his skin would be if that's what was said. Yeah. I think it's quite hard to see that as a racist comment.
I find it hard to believe it was as blunt as that. I certainly could say, well, I wonder how dark the kid will be. Will he be of his father's ginger complexion or his mother's slightly olive brown complexion? It's a natural thing.
Actually, that is quite right, because it's more curious because Harry is very, very, very ginger.
Very ginger, very light-skinned. It's preposterous. Yeah. The whole thing, and Oprah Winfrey involved, that was the most sickly, disgusting thing. And I had no grudge or beef with Meghan Markle as she was back then. But when I see all of what's happened now, and I see the way that was set up, and the way Harry looked at her during that interview, Andre, it really sickened me.
She has. The sad thing is, some of my American friends say I'm wrong on this, and maybe I am. And if you're in America, 03444991000, you can get in touch with us. We will call you back even in America, so it won't cost you a fortune. I think that she has persuaded the Americans that Britain is a very racist country. I think she has successfly done that.
Yeah, I mean, it's staggering to hear, actually, because a mate of mine who's originally from Liberia...
We didn't care, did we?
Yeah, no, not at all. So a mate of mine who's from Liberia grew up for the second part of his childhood in London. He worked in London, then he went off to New York for a while to work over there. He brought his family back because he said America is quite racist. He said it's quite divisive. As a black guy with a black wife and black kids, if he walks into a restaurant in, like, rural New York State, people stare because they don't get them out in the suburbs, right?
Yeah.
And he said it was just weird. Whereas in the UK, nobody cares, as you said there.
I know.
Nobody even thought Meghan Markle was black. People just said she was just a woman with slightly browner skin. Nobody gave a monkey's.
Yeah, and the way I explain it to people is this. You've got to remember, if you are completely white, but you are of black heritage in America, that is important. The reason is because of the legacy of slavery. Whereas in Britain, there's no legacy of slavery in this country directly. Now, some people will say indirectly. OK, I get that. So there are whole communities in America that have been disadvantaged as a result of slavery. Those communities continue to suffer that disadvantage. So you can get why somebody who was completely white, who's from that heritage, would still think it was an issue. The problem is, Meghan Markle is complaining about a problem that doesn't exist in Britain. She's looking at it through the lens of an American.
Absolutely.
Whereas
right.
if you have a problem with racism in Britain, it will almost certainly be you look black and people have discriminated against you on that basis.
Britain is the most non-racist, couldn't give a damn country in the world when it comes to race. Of course, there are some nasty people.
Well, of course.
And we're all capable of saying clumsy things, but Britain is the most tolerant, couldn't care less place in the world. It's beautifully tolerant. And for her to say that and to damage the reputation... It's like in the US, they think we're all running around with knives, stabbing each other. It's insane, the image that they have of Britain.
Yes. Yes, I think I do think it's very sad, and I think the thing that gave me the heebie-jeebies straight away was at the time of the Harry and Meghan wedding. Obviously, I was living in Windsor, and I was the UK correspondent for the New York Observer. Do you know what? I got into trouble for calling it the most Yankee publication of them all.
Why?
But because apparently that's an insult to people from the north part of the United States of America rather than from the south. But look. Every interview, the Americans, and how are you with having a black princess? And we're all like, we didn't realise.
Who's black?
We didn't realise. First of all, we didn't realise, and then we didn't care.
Yeah.
But the Americans were determined that we cared.
Well, I remember Harry saying, "Oh, well, she's getting this abuse because she's black," and I did not know she was.
I thought she was Spanish or something.
I just thought she was slightly brown-eyed. I didn't cross my mind. I mean, but it didn't cross anyone's mind. It's an issue that they created as a couple.
Absolutely
They
right.
created that.
Absolutely right. OK, this is... Well, it's not really the press preview, is it? We're just pretending. We're pretending. Shall we have a look at the first front page? Right, I guarantee you, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We are going to go through the front pages after the break, and we will go through all of them in general. As you know, it is mostly about Ann Widdecombe, which is why we brought Andy on specially, because he can talk about anything, which I think he's proved. We'll be back just in a moment.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Now, listen, Andy Preston was asking me about Lee in Greater Manchester. Lee is a crazy place.
Tell me why.
There's all sorts of... Well, so for the first part, it was voted to have the most attractive women of any town in Britain. And there was this club called Toffs, where... basically, Southerners used to... So FHM always used to say it was the most attractive women in Britain. And all these lads had come on the train... and it wouldn't end well, if I'm being honest, because it was quite... the locals can get a bit fruity.
Oh, I see. So people come up from Cambridgeshire or Essex.
Oh, yeah, let's go and meet some of these attractive women. Bloody southern bufters. Throwing stuff at them and everything. I remember my favourite story about Lee. The Member of Parliament for Lee, James Grundy, was the first Conservative who'd ever been elected in the history of the town. Never happened before. The previous Conservative MP was the MP for Lancashire when there was just one MP for the whole of Lancashire. 150 years ago or something crazy. Anyway, so this young lad, James Grundy, had got drunk one night and a girl had told him to take his trousers down in the pub in a lock-in, and she'd filmed it, and she'd been trying to sell these videos to the papers, whatever, and people were nonplussed in the town. When James got elected to Parliament, people were walking around going, I'll tell you what, bloody Labour, I'll have them for that. They won't accept it, Labour. Labour think we have a duty to vote for them. They'll have a go at Grundy. They will. So I get a phone call from my mate at LBC. And they go, we're running this story about James Grundy being an exhibitionist, you know, flashing at women. And I went, right. And they went, we're going to Lee. I went, do not go. Do not go. They went, no, we're just going to go round some of the pubs. Don't. I guarantee you it's a bad idea. I said, I'm telling you, you go to any of those places, right, there'll be injuries and potentially fatalities. And they said, now, to those of you who are from Lee, let me tell you, the first place they went into was the Church Inn in Lowton, which I would suggest to you was a bad idea. This bloke, literally, and Sky phoned me saying, what's it going to be like? I said, the locals will be extremely hostile. Do not go. And they'll be, look, bloody Southerners having a go at us. He started throwing glass at them and everything.
Wow.
I'll tell you what, what I predicted was true. Within 1 hour of them landing, the press pack landing in Lee, they were very firmly...
They're on the train back to Lee. So is Lee a rugby town?
Yes, very much a rugby town. It's, you know, look, it's almost old-fashioned. I remember I had a friend of mine who was in GMP Murder Squad, and he said he was investigating a crime, not a murder, in Lee. And he said he went into the pub where the guy drank, and they went, you know, where's Iggy? And they went, oh, he'll be in later. Does he need to come to the police station? And they went, yeah, we need to arrest him. Oh, yeah, he'll come later. What time do you need him? And they went, well, maybe 6 o'clock. And my mate said, I got out of the pub and I went, he's not gonna actually come. And the local coppers went, oh, he will, yeah, he will. And then this bloke turned and went, hello, I'm here to be arrested. Whatever. They just go into the pub and say, get Iggy to come down to the police station.
What a great town.
To be Nick.
Beautiful women, friendly criminals. That's great. Hey, we better do the press review.
Yeah,
we'll be in trouble. We'll be in big trouble.
OK, front page of The Times is obviously man 26 arrested for the murder of Ann Widdecombe. We don't know a great deal about it, and the press have asked us not to speculate. The front page of The Telegraph, once again, Widdecombe murder inquiry, but also it's also on the front page of The Telegraph that the King and Queen are going to be reunited with their grandchildren, Archie and Lilibet. You must be pleased about that, you know?
Do you know what? I am really pleased for them. And, like, regardless of what anyone thinks of the Royals, whether they love them or don't love them, to have grandparents who cannot get access to their kids, don't see their kids growing up.
Would you change the law to give them automatic access, grandparents?
I think that's a strong move. I think that's the right of that has to be with the parents.
Yes.
I think. Obviously, social services have to monitor that, but it has to be with the parents. But a grandparent that's denied that right, that must be the most painful thing in the world.
I mean, I always think it's sad when, and I understand why this happens in divorce, when the children get weaponised and used as a bargaining chip.
Absolutely.
I think that's horrendous. Now, look, to be honest with you, I think there's probably perfectly reasonable, nice people who do it because they get in the moment, the emotion of the whole thing. But it is always very, very sad. By the way, the Daily Express are offering you to save money on your National Trust membership. Don't go to that because it's full of communists. OK. If any of you read The Independent, and I always say, thank God nobody reads The Independent, you'll notice that Nick Clegg is doing a piece about why Brexit has left Britain poorer. Are they ever going to stop going on about it?
No, people will never stop going on about it, and both sides will continue to feel aggrieved and point the finger, and they'll find...
Which way did you vote?
So I was a Remainer.
Were you?
I was a strong Remainer, and I had
Are you still?
I believe that business works better when there are fewer barriers, and I believe that now it's harder to do business with our major trading partner. Do I think that leaving the EU has caused monumental harm? Not really. Do I think it ruins Britain? Not really. I just want to get on with it. I don't want to have arguments. I just want to get on with it.
I think the thing that has been a terrible disaster with Brexit is that the government, every government, all of them, and the civil service have seen this as a problem that needs to be managed. They've never embraced it. And what would have been good is if someone had gone in and gone, whether they voted leave or remain, because remember, most of us are pretty much in the middle. There were some advantages, some disadvantages. If they'd gone, right, here's a big opportunity, what they actually did was they said, we're going to suck up the additional burden of trading in Europe, and we're not going to cut regulation in the UK. I mean, the advantage of the big EU regulation was you could trade easily with Germany.
Absolutely.
Now, it's just
well,
crazy.
people tell me it's a nightmare, but as you said, it's about the polls, isn't it? The people that were strong Remainers, the people that were strong Brexiteers, they are still wedded to that, and they quibble, they fight, they bicker, and I don't think it's ever going to be resolved, Andre.
OK, so the front page of the Daily Mail, and I'm just going to tell you this, suggests that Ann Widdecombe spent her last few moments in abject terror. They don't actually say who has said that, but they are quoting somebody that they describe as a source. What they described it as, I don't think. Yeah, OK. I don't know that they can justify.
No, they're saying that the family fear that she lived them in terror. OK. Which is a terrible thing to do, right? Because they're trying to give you the impression of this poor woman. We don't know what happened.
We don't.
And they shouldn't speak.
And she could still have fallen over.
Absolutely.
I mean, by the way, this story may well be, I was breaking into the house and she came to run at me, slipped. That could be. That could be what. I mean, certainly, I hope she fell.
Yeah.
I mean, I admit it's unlikely.
The thing about Ann Widdecombe is that whether you liked her or loathed her, she was a larger-than-life character. She said what she genuinely believed.
I mean,
she had that integrity.
I could imagine if there was an intruder, her picking up a rolling pin and going for him.
Totally, absolutely. There'd be no negotiation.
No, absolutely.
No compromise.
Absolutely.
No thought of a personal safety.
I mean, I think that's right. I think we don't know if this happened. Yeah. There's no but there would have been a fight if somebody had broken in.
Isn't it funny? Forgetting Ann Widdecombe for a minute, isn't it funny how it takes often a death for us to say, actually, I'll see past someone's views and see them for what they were, which was a spirited, forthright, honest person.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. OK, so we've also got the front page of The Sun, which is Ann Widdecombe beaten to death. Well, Andy, thank you so much for coming in.
Nice
This is Andy Preston. He's a former businessman and really somebody who's volunteered in his community and became the mayor of Middlesbrough.
Yeah, that's right.
And we love having you in, so thank you so much for coming in.
Nice
and we talked about, do you know what we did? We made parish councils relevant.
The last thing I'll say, Andre, is people listening are fed up with their council, set up a parish council. Google it, it's easy. OK, if you want to get in touch with me, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 slots available. 0344 499 1000. Have we got the UF Bros on again? Oh, my God. Right. We're going to have the UF Bros on. They're going to be talking about some old garbage that they cooked up 5 minutes ago. It's amusing because it's bad. Stay tuned for that if you dare. More next.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
OK, this is the moment of the week that you've all been waiting for. It is the perfunctory efforts from the UF Bros, otherwise known as the Mystery Department. It's not you, it's him, right? It's him. It's him. Right, have you been to Quentin? Have you been to Quentin tonight?
Quentin is in Manchester. I've been here.
He's been researching alone.
And we've been researching the aliens.
Oh, I wonder what he's been researching on the internet.
There's information. There's footage.
Well,
this is going to blow your mind.
There, you saw the film.
I saw Disclosure Day. I saw it for real. It was pretty good.
You saw the film for real.
I saw
it in the cinema. Don't present that as an achievement.
I saw it in English, and it was pretty good.
Yeah.
What language did you see it in, Joe?
I saw it in English, but he claimed to have seen somewhat Spanish version.
When they were speaking the clicky language, I actually understood it.
OK, this is the moment when we go through all of the biggest mysteries of the week. We have a bit of a laugh with it as well, with Joe Stock and Matt Thornton. Matt Thornton often meets up with his mate Quentin beforehand and goes to the pub with him, and so turns up just in no fit state to do it at all.
I'm fitter than ever.
And just ruins it for Joe, really, ruining your chance.
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
it's like your Asher Gould. Right, OK. OK, so, bitchy. OK, so what have you got for us this week? I'll get into trouble for saying that.
I know. Anyway,
big Disclosure Day.
Well, yeah, well, hold on, because last night something weird happened. That the chief of NASA basically came out and said, we have photographs of UFOs, which is quite a departure from their usual line.
And when he says UFOs, what's he defining?
Well, he's saying we have images of flying objects and we can't explain what they are or where they come from. We're not saying it's aliens, but we don't know. And then when pressed on this a little further, he said something very interesting where he said, I think within my lifetime, I will know what it is.
Yes.
And that was weird, because...
He's about your age, Andre. So that...
What, 25?
Yeah, quite. But that means, you know, people who are currently sort of 35-ish will be finding out about this very soon.
Yeah.
I mean, but it sounds increasingly like your theory is right, which is they don't really know what it is.
Well, perhaps, but what was interesting about this thing is it was quite a departure from what NASA's been saying before, which is very much... They don't really entertain this. It's the military that talks about this quite a lot. That's where all the whistleblowers come from.
Yes.
But then what happened this afternoon, we got the 4th UFO file drop from the Department of War. And there was some quite...
There's some pretty shocking footage in there.
And some of it involved NASA itself.
And we're going to see it.
If the footage is legitimate, then it's the best footage that's
and it has come from the government, the Department for War.
Oh, yeah.
The US Department for War.
Well, if your genius in there plays the orbit ULA, what you'll see on screen is a image taken from a space shuttle in 1996.
Of course, if he doesn't play it, this segment's not going to last very long.
But it's fine. It's fine.
There we go. Right, so you should...
Right, now, forgive me, I'm going to look on this big screen up here, which is slightly behind.
Now, that was taken from a shuttle of a giant triangular object orbiting the Earth.
People who are listening to this on the radio, it is a photo, as Joe said, from a shuttle. You see the Earth on the left, or what you think is the Earth on the left, and... The best way I can describe it is it looks like a Super Star Destroyer from Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking.
You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, the one where Darth Vader's on board.
Correct. The opening of the New Hope, one of the spaceships trying to fly away. That's the one that's following it.
But that could be any size at all, couldn't it? Really, it's quite hard to tell.
But I think they're saying they think it's quite large. But the interesting thing is that obviously UFOs come in all shapes and sizes, but one of the common ones is a triangular formation, and that is quite.
And this is from a shuttle. When do we know?
In 1996, I forget the name of it, but it was a NASA mission. So I believe NASA must have realised that this was coming out, so got ahead of the story.
So what we can say, looking at that is a triangular object. It's clearly an object, isn't it? I mean, I think it would be hard to say that.
It's very smooth. The surface is. It looks like it is, you know, been designed. It doesn't look like a rock.
Are there any other things that could be? So it's in low Earth orbit.
Yeah.
Which means it's in space, but it's pretty close to the Earth.
We know that there's all sorts of things flying around there, debris and bits of shuttles and bits of satellites that have been smashed up. But
This was not what they thought they were seeing.
No.
They thought they were seeing something very odd, and there was
But could that be a fleck of paint that's much closer?
No. They have actually. They did take photographs of it from different angles. But
because of course one of the big difficulties with space apparently is, and I'm not to quote Father Ted. This is small and that is far away, right? Because obviously it's quite hard to know when you've never seen an object before whether it's small or whether it's far away.
I believe the impression they got in there, and they're obviously astronauts, they'd be best to know. I think they believed it was a large object.
Yes.
Now I want to go through because there's lots more.
Yes, keep going, please.
Yeah. So this would be the slow-mo ULA. If you play that, this is probably the most high-resolution image of a UFO we've got. This was taken by another jet fighter, that kind of footage of a heat sensor camera.
This is shocking.
That is a close-up on one of these orbs that we've been seeing moving round at those fast speeds.
So the lines are the camera, are they?
Yes. I've cropped in and zoomed in and slowed it down.
In the full video, you see it zooming in slowly, and then it comes into focus.
So for our radio listeners, what are we looking at? It looks like the shape of.
There is no frame of reference for what we've got at the moment.
It looks like
It looks like a cartoon running child, doesn't it?
That's one interpretation.
I think it looks more like a nut, like a...
It looks like a nut with thrusters on it.
Yeah, something like that. And the guy that was observing it said it looked like some kind of deformed balloon, but he said there were really strong winds and it wasn't reacting at all to the wind.
So he thought deflated balloon.
But he said it couldn't have been because it was stationary.
Yeah, but it could have been.
And with all of the footage that we've had before that's been released so far in the other 3 drops, it's been things moving along, it's things passing through some water.
That doesn't look terribly designed, does it?
No, I know, but that is supposedly what these whistleblowers have come out and said. There's a kind of thing they classify as like a plasma form UFO shape, like Foo Fighters, they were just lights. That these things can change their shape in some way. It's odd, but that is a very interesting piece of footage, which is very clear.
OK, let's keep going.
OK, well, I've got one more to show that's worth seeing, and that would be the Ray ULA, and this is quite a strange one when they play that, because what you'll see in this next one is like, it looks like a kind of sweeping light moving across the ocean.
That is strange, isn't it? That's almost like if you got a line of LEDs, an LED rope light, and just ran along with it. But that's going through the clouds, isn't it?
It's flying over some water, yeah.
But could that be a flock of birds flying?
I don't know. I think if you look very close, it's difficult to see on that screen. It's very clearly lights. And they zoomed right in on it. At the beginning of the video, which I cut out, is that you can see it just going along, and then they zoom right in.
But that appears to be going through the clouds, doesn't it?
I know, yeah.
At least to some extent.
It's not very hard to do.
So these pieces of footage of
flying north.
Yeah. So they're very interesting because they are so visual.
But there's no commonality to any of it.
No, I know, and that's other things that have been coming out with these whistleblower testimonies, that some of these things look like the size of football pitches, like these giant cigar-shaped objects. Others look like your standard, flying saucer, and others have these sort of liquid forms as they fly along. It's very strange. There was also some really interesting documents that got released, namely one which was a military document which talked about, it was from like 1948, and it talked about a pilot that was killed whilst chasing a UFO.
Now listen, have you got earpieces?
Yes.
Or can you sort that? OK, we've got Steve in South Wales. By the way, if you want to get your calls in, about Ann Widdecombe, you want to get your calls in about anything of the week, or you want to talk to the UF pros, 0344 499 1000. They're perfectly happy to sit around and take whatever calls you want. Steve, I'm going to put you through to Joe and Matt. Go for it.
Hello.
Hello, Steve.
Hello, gentlemen. Back in the late 60s, I read a book called The Welsh Triangle, and it's all about UFOs over at the
Steve, let me just say to you, before you carry on, just before we came on air, we were talking about Wales and its links to UFOs, because there's loads of sightings in the Brecon Beacons.
Yeah. And the Endless Mountain where I live. And there's a book, it's called The Welsh Triangle.
Yeah, there you go, by Peter Paget.
Interesting. Right.
But Steve, can I make this point to you? Brecon is where the British military train. So once again, it's a military training
base. Yeah.
It's not a military base in as much as it's a training. There is a base there, yeah.
Right, That's a fair comment. But the endless mountains aren't. I can walk under my front door now, and in a quarter of an hour I'm on the endless mountains. There's nothing there. Nothing, no military, no...
Have you ever seen anything out there?
Of course not. No, I wish I had. But I can say something. A boy I went to school with in my class, Gerald, he's in the book. And he said that he actually... Well, he's got a bit in the book where he had seen something. I haven't seen. But this book... Like I said, have you read it, The Welsh Triangle?
I've never even heard of it. I want to check it out. It sounds very interesting.
Well, get hold of it. The Welsh Triangle is about the endless mountains, not the Brecon Beacons, and it's just about it's above Upper Cwmbran where I live. So, and I'm going back a few years.
It is well known that where your part of the country is a hotspot for UFOs. It is a strange.
And all sorts of other unexplained phenomena.
Yeah,
you know, fairies.
Well, that's the lads from the Tidville on
whatever
holiday,
else.
Isn't it?
Potentially.
Don't get mixed up with the Brecon Beacons and all that, because we know the SAS and all that. But this is the endless mountains. Can I say something else to Andre as well?
Please.
You can.
Andre.
Yes.
As regards to what's name that's just got killed, it's a shame that there wasn't a law. They could take her brain out, cut it up in slices, and plant it into these stupid, I'm not going to swear, idiots that's running our country now. Perhaps a little bit of her brain can spark the rest of their brain off to have a bit of common sense.
I have to say to you, do you know what? No, it is not possible to take Ann Widdecombe's skills, talents and abilities and implant them into the politicians in this generation. But by God, Steve, I agree with you. Wouldn't it be marvellous if that technology did exist? Because I look at her and she was only a junior minister but she is streets ahead of people in the cabinet right now. UF Bros, thank you so much.
Well,
you've got more, is there more?
There is something.
There's more,
it's just a couple of things.
Do you know
who Dr. Phil is?
No.
He's a big American TV personality.
Yeah, the bald guy.
Yeah, with a moustache. And he was very close to, I think, the Trump administration when he was getting into office.
Yes.
He posted today that he has received an early briefing on the UFO phenomenon, and he said we all need to watch out. And he said it's very much linked into our nuclear weapons, and they have a fascination with that. So it seems like certain celebrities might be being briefed by government agencies on what's
going on. What do you make of it, Andre? Because you've sort of been seeing the videos. We've come every now and again with the release drops.
I'd rather be taking calls on Widdecombe, if I'm totally honest.
That's fair.
No, I'm joking. No, look, we have got more calls for you, so you're going to stay with us.
Oh, right.
If you want to get in touch with us and ask any questions about any phenomenon that you are confused by, 0344 499 1000. And I think we've got, is that Yasmin next? Yeah. Yasmin, the teenage witch, is going to ask us a question. But I think what we should do is, in honour of the official schedule of the show, why don't I take a break on time? And let's do that now. Wow.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
OK, this is a late show with Andre Walker, Joe Stock and Matthew Thornton. OK, let's go straight to, is it Yasmin the Teenage Witch? Yasmin the Teenage Witch, you are through to the UF Bros.
You're right, Yasmin.
Hiya, darlings. I'd just like to say about Ann Widdecombe, it's so sad that such a nice lady had that horrendous thing happen to her. And to her family, I wish all condolences.
I have to say, you know, this show dines out on having strong women, you included, on who speak their mind. And I think that because of that, we should all pay a special homage to Ann Widdecombe, because she will always be the master, certainly the best since Margaret Thatcher.
And I'd also like to say I feel that Nigel Farage should get as much security as he needs.
Yeah.
And also Prince Harry as well, and Meghan. Because honestly, if they're going to let out 5,000 nut jobs from prison and let them just roam the streets, like you were mentioning about that man earlier.
Yeah, the terrorist.
Yeah. If they're going to let them go free, then we've got to protect people who are important.
Well, do you know what I've done? Do you know what I've done as my own security arrangement? My block of flats is incredibly sort of higgledy-piggledy, because it's an old convent. Everyone's going to know where I live. But if you get my address, you will fail, because the first thing I did when I moved in was bought 2 brass numbers, painted my door, and put the wrong door number on it. So what I thought I'll just get a door number that nobody else has got in the building, and so now if
2,500.
Yes. So say my door number. Say my door number was 20. I've actually got 185 on the door, or something like that.
That's good. I like that.
You know. But also, I don't want to explain it too well, but I've made it look like it's in sequence with all the other doors.
May I just tell people a quick spell? Anybody who is done nothing wrong, but they're being harassed by the police, this is a spell, or anything to do with going to court or anything like that. Get a black and white candle,
Shut up.
Light it and read out loud Psalm 91.
All right, well, we'll all do that tonight.
Write that down, Andre. Write that down.
We'll all do that tonight. Can I go to Slough Police Station and do it outside?
Yeah, definitely. If you want to put stuff on the...
Read it to Shrek. He looked like Shrek.
Listen, there's a thing called hot foot powder that you can put down outside a police station, and they'll all be effed up. Anyway, getting back to UFOs.
Yes.
What I want you to look into is the Pentrick incident that happened in Wales a couple of years ago.
Wales again? What's going on in Wales? So it's the Welsh Triangle is one thing.
Let me explain. There's a place in Wales called Stacks Rock. It's in Pembrokeshire.
Right.
A friend of mine was going over to holiday in Pembrokeshire, and there was a massive incident at Stacks Rock. Any mechanical, electrical bolts going out to Stacks Rock, all the engines cut out, and the aliens were seen going inside Stacks Rock. And it's...
Do you reckon it's some sort of portal?
What kind of aliens? What did they look like?
They were dressed in silver, and they looked like spacesuits. But the biggest thing about them was the American... who was that peanut guy, the American president?
Jimmy Carter.
Jimmy Carter, yeah.
By the way, just to be clear, Jimmy Carter was a peanut farmer. Just in case people have been bemused. Just in case people have been bemused by that reference.
Well, I know, Andre, you're brilliant at stuff like that. You should be working in America, you're that good. And
amen to that, brother.
You will be doing something for America in journalism that's going to be coming up for you.
Well, that's when I have to leave the country, don't I? Because of Shrek from Slide Police Station. But they don't manage to harpoon him.
It'll be coming up in August, around August the 11th for you this year. The thing is about the incident at Stax Rock. There was a Spanish woman who owned a guest house there and a pub, and she saw them. And they landed on her land, and the land has never grown anything on it since.
When did this happen?
Oh, it happened around the 70s.
Are they still there? Not the aliens, but is the lady still there?
Let me explain what I did. I rang up the Welsh Tourist Board in Pembrokeshire, and I rang up the University of Wales, which has every single book that's Welsh written. And I asked the university, have they heard of this book? It's called The Uninvited. And they said, no, we've never heard of it, even though I had the journalist's name and I've got the book now in my house.
That's really interesting.
Who's it by?
I rang up the, what was it called? The Tourist Board in Pembrokeshire. And as they put the phone down, I heard the woman say, one of them women asking about that alien thing. Tell her we don't know about it.
Wow.
And who was the author of the book?
Yes, who was it?
It was called Clive Harold. Clive Harold.
We've got some reading to do.
Yeah, that sounds really
It sounds like we've been given some homework. This is fantastic.
Let me tell you now, this is really important. The government have known about UFOs since the earliest times of government in this country.
Yeah.
I believe Keir Starmer is part alien because his skin looks funny.
Like he's a Vulcan.
How long have they been here, though, Yasmin? Like, is this all something that's just popped up in the last 80 years, or have they been here for thousands?
The book is called The Uninvited. Stop for a second. Stop. It's called The Uninvited, The True Story of Ripperston Farm by Clive Harold.
That sounds pretty good. I'm gonna check it out.
It's in Pembrokeshire. It's the Welsh Triangle, and apparently it took place in 1977. The book was first published in 1979.
Interesting.
Can I just say something?
Yes, please.
At the same time that was happening, there was actual school children who saw a UFO in Wales. So it wasn't.
Yes, I think I've heard about that case, actually.
It wasn't just, and there was also UFOs in Zimbabwe.
Yep.
The children.
Famous case. Yeah.
Where the children saw
at the school.
Utterly
what
bizarre.
I'm saying is, this is the biggest thing. You know, like they're saying, in a year, 100,000 people go missing on Earth or even
more. Oh, no. You don't think?
I believe they're being abducted abroad. Definitely. Into the sky.
What would they be used for by the aliens?
They're used to starseed another planet. And you know, the other thing, we've had more problems with our atmosphere since that CERN has been going. And you know why they say keep CERN going?
This is the super collider in Switzerland?
Yeah.
The Large Hadron Collider.
Yes.
They want to create a black hole. And you know why electricity and gas is up? Because CERN's using all the electricity and...
Yeah, but CERN uses a lot of electricity, but not so much that it wipes out a continent.
Well, if it made a black hole, it probably would.
It's underground, and it's near Italy, and Italy has got massive volcanoes.
Well, that whole facility at CERN as well, it's covered in all sorts of weird imagery, and there's all sorts of weird statues, and there's that video of those guys doing that ritual in front of that statue as well. It's pretty shocking. There's some weird stuff out there.
What's all that about?
Have you not seen it?
No.
Oh, I'll send it to you.
Oh, they're prepared as usual.
Right, and the other
Yasmin knows what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what he's talking about. He's talking about the Illuminati.
Well said.
And using demonic energy to create hell on earth for the normal people.
But you believe I'm a member of the Illuminati?
I know you're a member of the Illuminati, because if you weren't a member of the Illuminati, you would never be connected as you are. Don't tell me, Andre, you've never seen people in the Illuminati. Come on.
He can't tell you.
The Illuminati was abolished many years ago.
Rubbish.
So mote it be.
There's the red shoes. there's the black fingernail, there's the Illuminati. There's so many things going on. People go on about Epstein. Do you know one of the biggest things about Epstein, what he was trying to do on the island? Do you know what he was
harness
trying to
energy
do on
from the
island?
children.
He was trying to connect with aliens.
Well, yeah, but you say aliens, people think that you mean
is it demons?
Something from another planet. You're saying it's
I'm on about that alien.
Interdimensional.
He was trying to connect with interdimensional beings. That's
like
why
Alistair Crowley. He was
I thought you were going to say Alistair Campbell. Him and Rory Stewart, they're interdimensional beings, aren't they?
Let's just explain all this. What do you think, Rory?
I hate them too.
Can I just say something about NASA?
Yes,
they
please.
were all right with the planes till they put the name Challenger on one and they were shown who were challenged. The other thing about Alistair Crowley, everything to do with Alistair Crowley to do with dates, such as his birthday and things like that, and everything like that, all the rockets go off at certain days to do with Alistair Crowley.
And you remember, before we mentioned this, if you look at Crowley's description of the entity he was communicating with, it looks exactly like a grey lamb. I think it was called lamb. Yes. It looks exactly like a grey alien. And he drew
I thought you were going to say it looks exactly like Rory Stewart.
I might give you one of my little explainers.
There's a resemblance.
Let's not.
What is the one thing the Illuminati want more than anything?
What, Rory
Domination,
Stewart?
Control.
No, a long life.
Yes,
not to die.
adrenochrome.
Well, this is what...
Well, the other thing is, in the Vatican, they're supposed to have... Who killed his brother? Was it Cain?
Cain and Abel.
Cain and Abel.
Cain. Well, that's where cannibal comes from.
Am I my brother's keeper?
Hang on, didn't Romulus and Remus? I think, didn't Romulus kill Remus?
I believe so. Oh, no, they were... Maybe.
We jumped over the wall. It was only...
They were mothered by a wolf, weren't they?
No, they were brought up by a friendly she-wolf.
Yes.
And one of them jumped over the... One of them, he'd laid 4 courses of brick, and the other one jumped over it, so he killed him for it. Now, you know, we've all been out on a building site working hard.
And there were a load of hills in Rome, and then they picked the right one.
Right. All right, Yasmin, the Teenage Witch.
Oh,
thank you so much.
To say.
John... No, we don't care.
Oh.
OK, John and friends in Salford is coming up after the break.
Oh.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
OK, we've now got John and friends from Salford, or as I prefer to call it, Salford. OK, John, where are you?
Morning,
what are you doing?
Morning, Andre. We just sat listening to Talk TV, and we wanted to pay a tribute to Ann Widdecombe.
Oh, great.
We're 3 gay guys. We're 3 gay guys, and we loved Ann. We thought she was the most authentic voice ever. She was a real character. We're all gay. We know she had her views, she had her thoughts on different things,
but she was just authentic.
Well, she wasn't a believer in being rude or nasty to people. She just believed that marriage should happen in church, which I don't think is a wholly unreasonable thing.
Well, it's not for somebody who's religious. It's completely reasonable, isn't it?
By the way, the one low point was the TV show Clever Dicks, where if you got the answer right in a certain amount of time, she'd go, Clever Dick. Did you see that?
We didn't see that. We've got a bit of class. We only watch talkTV. We only watch you because we're a big fan. But we wanted to pay tribute to Anne because what's happened...
Now, John, whereabouts are you in Salford?
Just near the city centre of Manchester, actually, near Trinity Way.
Oh, okay, because I used to work on... I used to work off Liverpool Street on Brunel Avenue. Do you know when you go over... Do you know where the McDonald's is when you go on the way into the centre of town? I used to work around there. Near the university.
Yeah, we're not that far from there, yeah. There's three of us. And we just... Well, we can't follow Yasmin's alien lobotomy. That was really good. I don't know what's going on there.
I'll tell you what, I'd love to go for a pint with Yasmin, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Well, it would definitely be fun, but we need a few pints, wouldn't you?
I'll tell you what I think we should do. I think we should all go out in Manchester next time I'm up there, because as you know, my dad still lives on the outskirts of Manchester. Might pop over, have a few beers, get Yasmin out with her melons or whatever she... Have you seen that video?
I've seen the video.
Absolute filth.
The crisp
for a woman of her age.
No.
As well.
It was a different...
Okay, John, thank you so much. Okay, let's go to Paul, who is in... God, I just can't see this at all. Paul, who is in Bexley. Paul, you're on talk.
Hi, Paul.
Go on,
Hi there. I used to go to a school called Bidewell School, which was in Bexley Heath. When I was about 5 years old, I went into school and I'd seen what I thought was a UFO. And I spoke to the teachers at school, explained to them what I'd seen.
Right.
And they told my mum I needed to see an educational psychiatrist.
Right, that's quite extreme.
My mum heard...
What, on one sighting?
It is.
What did it look like? What did you describe to them that made them have that reaction?
In hindsight, it looked like a stealth plane or something like that.
So it was like it was sort of angular, like a triangle shape.
That's correct. Yeah. So,
but see, you've got to be very careful, because I had a friend of mine who was Member of Parliament for Pendle. This genuine story. I may have told you before, and he got a letter from a constituent saying, "I'm interested in my telescope. The other day, I saw a Russian plane flying over Lancashire, low and slow, and it appeared to be taking photos of what was going on the ground." So my mate thought, oh, God, I'm just a nutter. So he wrote to the Department for Defence, and he said, Ministry of Defence, and he said, my constituent believes he saw a Russian plane photographing Lancashire on this day. And they wrote back saying, as part of our treaties with the Russian Federation, we check each other's military sites on a regular basis. They did see a Russian plane, but what happens is there's a pre-planned route. We know where it's going to go. It is looking at military sites in Lancashire. It is taking pictures of them, and there is a member of staff of the RAF on board to make sure they don't divert out of where they're allowed to in the treaty. And my mate was like, really wasn't expecting that as an answer, if I'm being totally honest. So you saw a triangle then. Was it a stealth bomber, do you think, Paul?
No, it wasn't a triangle. It was more like an orb. But I was only about 4 or 5 years old. I told my teacher, it was a trusted teacher that I really liked. I was probably considered a bit of a weird kid. Well, I suppose I was by saying that. It's only years later, in hindsight, that I found out that educational psychiatrists wanted to speak to me. And my mum thought psychiatrists at the time, this was the 80s, about 1982. And she said, I don't want no psychiatrist seeing my child. And I thought...
No, that's a high road. That's a high road to bad things.
The thing is I think lots of people, have been ridiculed for saying they've seen things, and we've had lots of reports of people saying, well, I didn't report it at the time because I thought I'd be mocked.
That was the idea within the military in America. If you're going around saying, oh, I've seen these UFOs, your boss, your commander's going to say you need to be stripped of your honours or whatever.
This was something I confided in my teacher about, and I remember confiding in my teacher about it, and only years later did my mum say the educational psychiatrist wanted to speak to me, and I've had quite a hard life because of my mental health. And years later, my mum confided in me and said, psychiatrist wanted to speak to her at that time. I was a chauffeur about 15 years ago, and I was sitting listening to a radio broadcast, and apparently other people had seen this over the site that I'd seen it, and it just all...
Where was that again, sorry?
Bexley.
Bexley.
Wow. Feed the World School in Bexley Heath. Bexley Heath.
So over London...
What was the school called again?
Bedenwell.
Bedenwell?
Unfortunately, I can't spell. Beden as is...
I thought you said Feed the World. Feed the World School.
Sorry.
Honestly, but I think a lot of people have been sort of ridiculed and are scared to say anything about this, but I think that might be changing now.
I don't think there's any harm.
I was listening to a radio broadcast, and apparently a lot of people had seen it.
Yeah.
And my mum confided.
Paul, have you ever seen anything since?
No.
Have you contacted anyone else who...
very specific memory.
You said there was a radio broadcast. Have you contacted anyone who was on that broadcast to share your experience with them, to sort of catch up with them about it? Or...
About it.
Interesting.
No, but it's had a very profound effect on my life because my mum didn't speak to a psychiatrist.
And this was in the early 80s. Do you know if there's any? Do you know if there's any articles or anything about it?
Yeah, there will be.
Have you been following what's been going on in America and all these declassifications?
I've not.
Maybe check it out. It might bring you some peace of mind because
I think what's interesting is, Joe, he might see something that he recognises.
Quite. Yeah. What you've described has been...
It was a military flight path. It was a military flight path. We used to see, as a child, I used to see, is it Chinook aircraft?
They fly over.
Two-blade helicopters. I thought that was normal. It's only when I moved out of the area I realised you don't see Chinooks every day. No. But we used to see Chinooks every day.
But as Dr. Phil was saying in his tweet today, there's a massive connection between military bases, nuclear or non-nuclear, and this phenomenon.
But this is why I believe that they're military related.
Potentially, but if you zoom out, you realise that the phenomenon's been reported hundreds of years ago. They were talking about the same thing.
Sound crazy, Paul. What's going on?
I'm going to sound crazy, but I'm telling you now, I have premonitions. Honestly, I have premonitions about things, and Widdecombe being one of them, and that's the reason I've got on the phone to you today. I feel...
So you knew Ann Widdecombe was going to be murdered a few days ago?
I just had a feeling about her. I like Ann Widdecombe, and yesterday, I don't know, I got a warm feeling about her.
Because there are some people... Wait there for a second, Paul. Joe, Matt, there are some people who say that after they come into contact, even seeing these UFOs, they acquire some sort of ability to understand things.
That's what Disclosure Day was about, really.
Yeah, that was getting into that and kind of spoilers.
Can I tell you a really crazy thing? And this is going to sound crazy, and I've had a drink, so I'm going to admit to that.
Don't worry.
But I can remember also, straight after that, I was into He-Man figures at the time.
Yes.
And I can remember having a vision of He-Man figures, all the toys I wanted, everything I wanted. And I can remember thinking to myself, Paul, you must be dreaming. I was, say, 4 or 5 at the time. And I can remember pinching myself, and I can remember physically holding these toys that I thought was my toys, and in the morning they weren't there. But my life has been I've had a very strange life.
Are you suggesting that you might have been kidnapped by these aliens and it's had a long-term effect on you?
It seemed very strange. You know, in the early 80s, was a child psychologist, educational psychologist, was a common thing? Because I don't think there was. I've got children at the moment with autism and very challenging children, and I ain't seen a psychologist for hindsight. Now, in the 80s, for someone to offer me a child psychologist was very unusual.
Paul, thank you so much. And you're a great caller. It's just we're running out of time. Jay in London is next. Thank you so much, Paul, by the way. I didn't mean to cut him off early. But we are in a rush. We are in a rush. Jay in London.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Hello, Andre. Yeah, just first of all, just to say how deeply upset I am about the past. Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, keep going.
We're here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, just very upset about Ann Widdecombe passing, and especially the manner of her passing.
Why has Ann Widdecombe touched such a nerve with the British people? I get the impression it's not just because there's a suggestion she was murdered. I think that she had acquired a cult-like or British treasure type status. Is that the way you feel about her?
Yeah, I agree. I used to listen to her on talk radio with Mike Graham back in the lockdown days.
Yeah.
And I just really used to enjoy their little banter that they used to have. And I miss Mike Graham, actually. Talk radio should never gotten rid of him. But in about 1974, 1975.
Abducted.
You have just completely sprung that upon us.
Yes.
Can you give us some information about that?
Yeah, well, I'm just going to tell you. So we were in a place called Cairnmagan up in the Presili Mountains in Pembrokeshire once again in Wales.
Pembrokeshire again.
This is what inspired me to ring you. Anyway, we were up in the mountains and we kind of lost 3 days basically.
You lost time.
We lost time, and it's a rather complicated story. But anyway, that's the nuts and bolts of it. And as the years have gone by, every now and again I will meet somebody from that time. There was a group of us, maybe a dozen of us, in a couple of van loads. We were hippies. We'd been in at a little festival down in...
Yeah, but had you been smoking the wacky backy?
No, we've been taking LSD.
Jesus, man. Right.
That might not help your case.
You got some hallucinations having taken some LSD.
Hang on. The idea behind these things is they tune you into the other realm. So go
So
on.
we're not going to write you
please.
off yet. Tell us what happened. Tell us the sequence of events.
Absolutely. Some hallucinations are
Absolutely,
true.
100%.
Most people are walking around in a hallucination all the time and they don't know it. So anyway, what happened was, that was in about 1974, 75. I can't remember which summer it was. Lovely summer. And we lost 2 or 3 days, and I never thought about it that much because we were taking all sorts of things. And years later, in the 90s, I suppose it was, I bought a money box for my daughter that was an alien. She saw this alien that she wanted me to buy her. And when you put the coin in its mouth, it lit up and made these funny little sounds.
Right.
And it took me straight back to that time. And the thing was...
Might be the LSD recurring. It could stay on the pancreas, you know.
That's right. It could be. I'm open to that. That's why I'm straight. But what happened was, around about that time, I met a guy from America who claimed that he could remove implants from people that had been put there by aliens. Right. Anyway, he did a thing, and he described the whole scene, that what happened at that time. But the point is, we all lost about 2 or 3 days. Now, it wasn't the drugs that we lost.
And you're saying, so you're saying that you lost that time, didn't think of it, just put it down to the festival wherever you've been, but then years later you see this alien and it was like a repressed memory coming, because that is very common, like with these alien abduction stories.
What was the memory that you experienced? What did you see when you saw the? Did it take you back to?
Well, I was lying on a table with these little silver beings, sort of staring down at me. That was one of the...
And were you afraid?
No, not really.
Did you communicate with them at all?
It's like a night at the Ministry of Sound.
I don't recall actually communicating anything with them, but similar to what that character that was on before, the chap that was talking before about his life had changed.
Steve.
I did become quite mediumistic, you might say, and I went to see a couple of people here in London at the place called the College of Psychic Studies that help you understand these kind of processes.
So there's a College of Psychic Studies?
You never heard of it?
I think it is. Is that the one from the Victorian times? Its name. It's the College of Psychical Experience.
I'd avoid that place.
They were the ones that investigated the Enfield.
Arthur Conan Doyle set it up.
That's it. Yeah, and they investigated the Enfield haunting and found it to be a hoax. So they're not totally.
Oh, so they're up for.
Yeah. I've tried calling them many times. They've never answered. So they need to get a new
That's probably because they don't have the office permanently manned.
Well, yeah, but I'm called on the times when they told people.
Back in the 1980s, there were some very very interesting people, like Edwardian people,
yes,
working out of there at that time.
The Society of Psychical Research, that's what it's called.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's
Maybe it's
called
no, it's not.
Different one.
Maybe it's a different one.
All right, Jay, thank you so much.
Jay, this is brilliant.
Thanks.
This is really interesting.
Thank you so much. We are over on the break. Creed Kafer. Do you see that? Do you see Derek Acora?
Oh.
Right, basically somebody said, look, he's just making this up. So he came up with an anagram of Derek Faker, which was Creed Kafer. And they took him into this psychiatric home and he was going, Creed Kafer. That was him debunked forever. But Asher said, when Derek Acora used to come on, used to hear the same things over and over again. So your family, four. Yeah, there were four sisters. You're right, that's right, yeah, four. There were four of them. Well, no, actually there were five, yeah, but 4+. All right, oh, really? There was 4 dogs. Go home and have a think about it. Anyway, thank you so much to UF Bros. You can talk to me about anything in the final 10 minutes of the show, or I can just talk at you for 10 minutes. Perfectly happy to do that. 0344 499 1000. I think everybody who's on the list now for a call was going to do something about UFO stuff or whatever. So if you call now, you will get through. 0344 499 1000. Let's do the final 10 minutes on anything you like. Back in a mo.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is Talk, and the number to call is 0344 499 1000. Look, I suppose if we're going into the final 10 minutes of this show, OK, well, we've got Grace coming through, but we've got Ben Fletcher coming on in a moment. I'll give you some of my opinions on Ann Widdecombe's life in a couple of moments. But Grace, in London, you are on Talk. Go for it.
Various things. I was interested by your mother's comments on hippopotami last night.
Yes, she feared that the existence of a hippopotamus disproved the existence of God because they're pointless creatures that never should have been created.
Yeah, I mean, if you study fairly school-level science, you see that all creatures are necessary within complex food networks, and they're important for the existence of other creatures, which are in turn important for the existence of food chains that we ultimately rely on and things like that. But it's nice that she was thinking deeply about these matters.
I don't think that was a particularly deep thought. I think that was more something that amused her in the moment that she said it. But anyway, continue. Sorry.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think this, that creation and biology does suggest that a God exists. And I had some different political views from Ann Widdecombe, but obviously had in common that we believe in God. And so I feel that while the situation is just horrific beyond words, at the same time we believe that there's hope beyond this life, and I hope that that's some kind of comfort to her loved ones. But I just, it's baffling and awful what's happened, and I feel that it needs to be clarified for anyone who hasn't contemplated this, that being small c socially conservative and, for example, not supporting gay marriage isn't just about bigotry in the way that some people like Peter Tatchell want to presume. Some of us believe, as mad as it might sound, that God, who really loves human beings, has a particular design and plan, and that doesn't mean that we have anything against people who are gay and who disagree. It's not the same as just being bigoted. Some people want to imagine that the only reason you might disagree with gay marriage is because you hate gay people, and that's not it at all. And I'm baffled. But
it would be ludicrous for any Christian to say that sin is a good thing. It would be ludicrous for any Christian to say that. Now, there might be, you know, it may well be that Christianity is wrong in certain respects, and that's fine. But if you sincerely believe in Christianity, the idea that you would accept that sin is a good idea is silly.
Well, people hear the word sin, and I think many people think, oh, that means that Christians hate everyone else. And
it doesn't mean evil or bad, it means sin, doesn't it?
It means not following God's guidance. And actually, as Christians, we all believe that we've failed to follow God's guidance in one way or another. And some Christians do obsess too much about the particular issue of sexuality when there are other sins we ought to be thinking about, particularly our own.
Well, I'm very keen on what we do in Britain. As an example, with abortion, where we try and give women and indeed men support when they have surprise pregnancies or unwanted pregnancies, rather than shouting abuse at them. I think the whole megaphone abuse shouting thing that we see in some parts, but not all of America, I think is unhelpful. So I think that I think we do get things right in many respects in this country.
Well, if another person sins, then I don't think we should support and endorse it in the way that some people seem to think we should support and endorse certain things that are labelled as sin. But we also shouldn't be abusing or really even arguing with the person who has committed the sin, because actually that's between them and God.
Indeed.
And we need to repent of our own sin.
Okay.
And not be, arguing with other people.
Grace, thank you so much. I did just want to say one thing. We're coming to the end of the show, and we are going to be speaking to Ben Fletcher in a couple of minutes. But, look, the news that we have got through yesterday, about the day before, is that one of the greats of British politics has died. And I want all of you to remember what our role is in this democracy and in this country. All of us have a duty to stand up for what we believe in and to debate things in a proper political way. You are contributing to that just by enjoying this show and by reading the papers and perhaps debating things or talking about things with your friends and family. I've worried for a great deal of time now about the weakness of politicians in this country. There are too many people who are a haircut and a sharp suit rather than an actual set of beliefs. When you look back at the great politicians in history, whether you look back at Benjamin Disraeli, whether you look back at Clement Attlee, whether you look back at Winston Churchill, whether you look back at Margaret Thatcher, Ann Widdecombe is somebody who can join their ranks. And here is the amazing thing about Ann Widdecombe, and you heard it earlier today. The reality is, you heard it on the show, the reality is she never achieved high public office. She was only a junior minister in the Home Office. Her career was cut short partly by 1997, and perhaps things would have been different if the Conservatives had won the election in 1997, or indeed if she'd have managed to be alive at a time which was easier for a Conservative politician to succeed. But you know what? Quality is always something that will be recognised by people. This is a woman who was short, she was overweight, she wasn't the most attractive woman in the world physically, but her sheer intellect and personality and her sheer willingness to put her views forward. Tatchell, by the way, is wrong. Widdecombe may have had her Christian views, but she was never rude to people. She was never bigoted to people. She was never nasty to anybody. She didn't seek to put people down. She didn't seek to ridicule people, and she wasn't interested in hatred in politics. What she was interested in, more than anything else, was about putting views forward and debating things in a proper and sensible way. We live in a world now where what you say is more important than what you do. She lived her life by a standard of decency, by principles that I think transcend generations. And I think that this weekend, as you go about your business, you will think to yourself, who do I want to be in my life? Do I want to be the pathetic show-offs that we see in the House of Commons now? Do I want to be the haircut? Do I want to be the facelift? Do I want to be the Botox and expensive suit? Or do I want to be the Ann Widdecombe, the person who has worked hard all of their lives, served their community all of their lives, brought a genuine sense of debate and interest to people by talking about politics in front of young people and going on Strictly Come Dancing. She brought politics to a whole new generation, including going on Celebrity Big Brother. She is somebody who, as she goes to heaven tonight, will be able to say to herself, I lived my life to the greatest extent that I could do it. The values that I was given, I lived by. The talents that I was born with, I used. And I think in an age of trashy people going on TikTok, talking absolute garbage, somebody like that ought to be venerated and remembered. I hope she will be in your prayers this weekend, and I hope also we will all try harder to be more like Ann Widdecombe and less like the facile and tacky junkmeisters that we see all over social media. That's Nick for the show, but Ben Fletcher is up next. Ben, what's coming up?
A very good morning to you. Yeah, we're looking ahead to the big one, England-Norway, or Norway-England, to give it its correct billing. 10 o'clock live on talkSPORT tonight. It's a World Cup quarter-final. Very, very exciting.
And are we going to win?
England should beat Norway.
So we're going to get to the final?
Semi-final.
Semi-final.
Yeah, we had the octo-final last time.
Octo-final. Have you started using it?
I've tried to, yeah.
Has anyone caught on?
No, not yet.
No.
Not yet. I think they just sort of think, oh, bless him, he's got that wrong. But that's a good word. Good word. If you'd offered Norway, because it was supposed to be Brazil, everyone was anticipating it would be a Brazil quarter-final, but Norway got the better of that.